So, you broke. Life finally hit you hard enough to crack the shell, didn't it? Maybe she left you. Maybe the money ran out. Maybe you looked in the mirror one day and realized you wasted 20 years. And now, here you are, shattered, lying on the floor, bleeding out, and you are waiting. You are waiting for someone to come pick you up. You are waiting for a nurse. You are waiting for your mommy to kiss it and make it better. You are waiting for the world to apologize for hurting you. Let me tell you something, and listen closely, because I am the only one who will tell you the truth. Nobody is coming. The world does not care that you are broken. The world is a machine that grinds people into dust every single second, and you are just the latest piece of debris. If you stay on the floor, you will be swept away. You will be forgotten. You clicked on this audiobook because you want to heal. Let me be clear. I am not here to heal you. I am not here to hold your hand and tell you that it wasn't your fault. It doesn't matter whose fault it was. It is your responsibility to fix it. Most people stay broken. They love being broken. They wear their trauma like a badge of honor. They introduce themselves by their tragedies. Hi, I'm the divorcee. Hi, I'm the victim. They get addicted to the sympathy. They get addicted to the excuses. I can't succeed because I'm traumatized. Is that you? Are you in love with your own scars? If you want to stay a victim, turn this off. Go cry to your friends. Go post a sad quote on social media and wait for the likes. But if you are done bleeding, if you are ready to stand up, spit the blood out of your mouth, and look life in the eye, then stay. We are not going to put you back together the way you were. The person you were is dead. That person was weak. That person broke. We are going to build something new, something sharper, something harder, something that doesn't break. We are going to perform alchemy. We are going to take this pain that is currently killing you, and we are going to burn it as fuel. You refuse to die. Now, you must refuse to stay broken. Get up. The reconstruction begins now. Chapter 1. The funeral for your old self. The first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is remember. For a split second, when your eyes first open, there is peace. There is a micro moment where your brain hasn't loaded the data yet. And then, crash. The reality downloads. The weight settles back onto your chest. The memory of what happened hits you like a physical blow. It's real, you whisper. My life is actually destroyed. And immediately, your brain starts the time machine protocol. You lay there and you replay the events. You replay the conversation. You replay the mistake. You replay the moment it all went wrong. You torture yourself with 2 words. If only. If only I had said this. If only I hadn't gone there. If only I had known. You are obsessed with the idea of going back. You want to fix it. You want to rewind the tape, edit the scene, and save the movie. You want to return to the way things were. You want to get back to normal. I am here to kill that hope. There is no normal anymore. Normal is a city that was bombed off the map. It doesn't exist. And the person who lived in that city, the old you, is dead. This chapter is not a pep talk. This chapter is a eulogy. You are trying to heal a corpse. You are trying to perform CPR on a version of yourself that has already flatlined. You are walking around dragging a dead body on your back, and you wonder why you are so tired. You wonder why you can't move forward. It is because you are carrying a ghost. We need to hold a funeral. You see, trauma, whether it's a divorce, a bankruptcy, a death, or a betrayal, is an extinction event. It is a meteor that hits your planet. The dinosaurs don't survive the meteor. The world after the impact is not the same as the world before. The atmosphere changes. The landscape changes. You are trying to be a dinosaur in the Ice Age. You are trying to act like nothing happened. You are trying to push through and be the person you were last year. But that person was naive. That person was innocent. That person trusted people. That person felt safe. That person was weak. Yes, I said it. The old you was weak. I know you loved them. I know you miss them. You miss being happy. You miss being ignorant. But that ignorance is what got you shattered. The old you walked into a trap because they didn't know it was a trap. The old you trusted the liar because they didn't know liars existed close to home. The old you spent the money because they didn't respect the volatility of the market. The old you was a lamb, and the lamb got slaughtered. Do you really want to be the lamb again? Do you really want to go back to being the person who was capable of being broken this easily? I don't think so. The goal of this book is not recovery. Recovery means returning to a previous state. If you recover a file on a computer, you get the exact same file back. We don't want the old file. The old file was corrupted. The old file had a virus. We want rebirth. But you cannot be born again until you die. This is the part that hurts. This is the part that makes you cry in the shower. You have to say goodbye to yourself. You have to look in the mirror and realize that the reflection staring back at you is a stranger. You don't know this person. This person has dead eyes. This person has gray skin. This person is traumatized. Stop fighting the stranger. Stop trying to put the mask of the old you on this new face. It doesn't fit. You are grieving. But you think you are grieving the loss of a partner, or a job, or a lifestyle. You are actually grieving the loss of your identity. Who am I if I am not a husband? Who am I if I am not a CEO? Who am I if I am not wealthy? You are nothing. You are a void. You are a blank slate, and that is terrifying. The void is the scariest place in the universe. It is cold and dark and silent. So you scramble to fill it. You rush to find a new relationship to bandage the wound. You rush to find a new distraction. You rush to fix it. Stop running. Stand in the void. Stand over the open grave of your past life and look down. What do you see? Throw the memories in there. Throw the happy times in there. Throw the future plans you made that will never happen in there. They are dead. It is a tragedy, yes, but it is a finished tragedy. The curtain has fallen. The actors have gone home. You are the only one still standing on the stage, screaming lines to an empty theater. It is time to walk off the stage. Let's talk about the danger of nostalgia. Nostalgia is a liar. It is a filter that removes the pain and leaves only the pleasure. When you look back at the old you see a highlight reel. You forget the anxiety you had back then. You forget the doubts. You just remember the safety. You crave safety because right now, you feel unsafe. You feel exposed. You feel like a nerve ending with no skin, but you cannot go backward. Time has a ratchet mechanism. It only clicks forward. Every minute you spend looking over your shoulder is a minute you are not looking at the road. And if you don't look at the road, you are going to crash again. You must become a burn victim. I mean this metaphorically, but the image is important. When someone is burned, their old skin dies. It becomes hard, dead tissue called eschar. If the doctors leave that dead skin on the body, the patient dies. The dead skin constricts the chest. It breeds bacteria. It rots. So the doctors have to perform a procedure called debridement. They have to scrape off the dead skin. They have to cut away the old self so the new, raw flesh can breathe. It is agonizing. It is bloody. But it is the only way to survive. You are currently covered in the dead skin of your past. You are carrying around the identity of a failure. You are carrying around the identity of the betrayed. It is rotting. It is poisoning your blood. We need to scrape it off. You need to stop identifying with what happened to you. I am a divorcee. No, you are a person who went through a divorce. The divorce is an event, not a title. I am a bankrupt. No, you are a person who lost money. The loss is a number, not a name. When you attach your identity to the trauma, you keep the old you alive on life support. You keep feeding the ghost. Let the ghost die. This requires a ritual. I want you to do something physical. Gather the artifacts of the old you, the photos, the letters, the clothes you wore when you were happy and weak. You don't have to burn them unless you want to, but you have to box them up. You have to remove them from your sight. You cannot live in a museum of your own history. If your house is full of shrines to the past, you are living in a mausoleum. You are a cemetery caretaker. Pack it away. Clear the walls. Clear the shelves. Make the space empty. The emptiness represents the room you have for the new you. You might feel guilty. But I promised I would love them forever. But I worked so hard for that career. But that was my dream. Dreams die. Promises break. That is the nature of reality. Clinging to a dead dream is not loyalty. It is necrophilia. You are in love with a corpse. Let it go. Say the words out loud. That part of my life is over. Say it again. That part of my life is over. Feel the finality of it. Feel the door slam shut. The lock clicks. There is no key. You are on the outside now. It is cold out here. It is raining. You are alone. But you are free. The old you had obligations. The old you had expectations. The old you had a script to follow. The new you has nothing. And because you have nothing, you can do anything. You have been liberated from the prison of expectation. Nobody expects anything from you anymore because they think you are broken. They think you are finished. They have written you off. Good. Being written off is a superpower. It means you are invisible. It means you can work in the dark without anyone watching. You can rebuild the foundation without anyone critiquing your architecture. But first, the burial. You have to forgive the old you. You are angry at yourself. How could I be so stupid? Why didn't I see it coming? You hate the old you for being weak. Stop. The old you did the best they could with the information they had. They were operating on incomplete data. They were playing a game they didn't know was rigged. Don't hate them. Pity them. Look at that younger version of yourself, smiling, oblivious, walking toward the cliff, and feel compassion. You poor fool, you say. You didn't know what was coming. Forgive them, and then bury them. Put the shovel in the dirt. Cover the coffin. Put a tombstone on it. Here lies your name. Died, date of the trauma. Now turn around. Turn your back on the grave. Do not bring flowers. Do not visit every Sunday. Walk away. As you walk away, you will feel lighter. You will feel a strange sensation in your chest. It isn't happiness. It is too early for happiness. It is clarity. The fog of nostalgia is gone. The weight of what if is gone. You are left with what is. The reality is harsh. The ground is hard. Your hands are empty. But you are alive. Your heart is beating. Your lungs are filling with air. You survived the meteor. You are the cockroach in the rubble. And cockroaches are hard to kill. You are now entering the reconstruction phase. But be warned. As you walk away from the grave, you are going to encounter people. People who knew the old you. People who want to talk about the funeral. People who want to hug you and tell you how sorry they are. They mean well. But they are dangerous. They are carrying a poison called sympathy. They want to keep you by the graveside. They want to sit with you in the mud and cry. They want you to stay broken because your brokenness makes them feel safe. It gives them someone to pity. You must reject them. You must reject their pity like it is acid. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about why kindness is currently your enemy. We are going to talk about why you must isolate yourself from the healers who are actually keeping you sick. We are going to talk about why sympathy is poison. The funeral is over. Wipe your eyes. There is work to do. Chapter 2. Sympathy is poison. You are currently addicted to a drug. It isn't alcohol, it isn't nicotine, it isn't pills. It is something far more socially acceptable and therefore far more dangerous. You are addicted to sympathy. Since your life fell apart, you have been surrounded by a chorus of soft voices, people tilting their heads to the side, making sad eyes at you, and saying things like, "Oh, you poor thing. I can't believe that happened to you. It's not fair. Take all the time you need." It feels warm, doesn't it? It feels like a blanket. It feels like love. It is not love. It is poison. Sympathy is the morphine of the soul. It numbs the pain, yes, but it also paralyzes the patient. As long as you are hooked on the IV drip of other people's pity, you will never get out of the hospital bed. You will rot there. We need to talk about why you crave it, why they give it, and why you must slap it out of their hands if you ever want to stand up again. The transaction of pity. Understand the economics of sympathy. It is a transaction. When you accept sympathy from someone, you are accepting a lower status. The person giving the pity is the strong one. The person receiving the pity is the weak one. By accepting their comfort, you are signing a contract that says, "I am broken. I am incapable. I am below you. Please look down on me with kindness." You are trading your dignity for a moment of validation. You tell your sad story. They say, "Aw." You get a hit of dopamine. You feel seen. But seen as what? Seen as a victim. Every time you retell the story of your trauma to a friend, you are reinforcing the neural pathways of victimhood in your brain. You are acting out a script. You are the tragic hero, and they are the audience. And like any actor, you start to perform for the applause. You unconsciously start to exaggerate your suffering. You make yourself look even more helpless so you can get a bigger reaction. You become a professional victim. You start to compete for who has the saddest life. You think you have it bad? Listen to what happened to me. It is pathetic. It is a race to the bottom. And if you win that race, what do you get? You get to be the king of the losers. Congratulations. The nice people are your enemies. This will be hard for you to hear. You think your friends who are comforting you are your allies. In this phase, the Reconstruction phase, they are your enemies. They are enablers. If you were an alcoholic and a friend handed you a beer and said, "It's okay, you've had a hard week," would that be a good friend? No. That friend would be killing you. You are a traumaholic, and your friends are handing you the bottle. They are enabling your weakness. They are validating your excuses. You don't need to work today. You're grieving. You don't need to go to the gym. You've been through so much. They are giving you permission to quit. And because you are weak right now, you take the permission. You use their kindness as a shield to hide from the hard work of rebuilding. Why do they do this? Are they evil? No. They are mostly just uncomfortable. Seeing you in pain makes them feel awkward. They want to fix it quickly. They want to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound so they don't have to look at the blood anymore. Or even darker, they enjoy your pain. There is a German word, Schadenfreude, pleasure derived from another's misfortune. Some of your friends secretly love that you failed. When you were successful, they were jealous. Now that you are broken, they feel superior. They love playing the savior. They love looking down on you and patting you on the head. It makes them feel big. Do not give them the satisfaction. The narrative trap. You have a story running in your head. I was a good person, and bad things happened to me. Sympathy cements this story. It creates a concrete bunker around your trauma. If 20 people agree that you were wronged, then it must be true. And if you were wronged, then you are entitled to compensation. You are entitled to wait for the universe to apologize. You are sitting on a park bench, waiting for a bus called Justice. Let me tell you the schedule for that bus. It is never coming. Sympathy keeps you on the bench. Yeah, sit here with me, the sympathizer says. The bus will be here soon. You deserve it. They sit with you. You hold hands. You wait. Days pass, years pass. Your life withers away. You grow old on that bench, clutching your ticket, surrounded by people telling you that you are right. Being right is a consolation prize for losers. I don't want to be right. I want to be free. And freedom requires you to get off the bench and walk, even if it's unfair, even if your legs are broken, even if you have to crawl. Sympathy tells you, it's not your fault. Reconstruction tells you, it's your problem. The vampire energy. Sympathy is low vibration energy. It is heavy, wet, and sluggish. Think about how you feel after a long venting session with a friend where you just complained for 2 hours. Do you feel energized? Do you feel ready to conquer the world? No. You feel drained. You feel exhausted. You feel like taking a nap. You have just vomited all your energy onto the table. To rebuild yourself, you need anger. You need aggression. You need determination. These are high vibration energies. They are hot. They burn. Sympathy throws water on your fire. You get angry about what happened. Good. Anger is fuel. But then a friend says, there, let it go. Peace and love. And the fire goes out. You become passive again. You need to protect your fire. You need to stay angry long enough to change your life. If you let people comfort you too early, you lose the motive to change. Pain is the signal to move. If you numb the pain with sympathy, you stay still. The strategy of isolation. So what do? You quarantine yourself. You stop telling your story. From this moment on, you are forbidden from discussing your trauma with anyone who cannot directly help you solve it, like a lawyer or a therapist. No more complaining to your mom. No more crying to your drinking buddies. No more vague, sad posts on Instagram. Silence. When someone asks, "How are you holding up?" you do not give them the real answer. You do not open the wound. You say, "I'm focused." Or you say, "I'm handling it." And you change the subject. You deny them the entry point. You do not let them pity you. If they try to push, "But really, are you okay? It must be so hard." You shut it down. I said I'm handling it. Let's talk about business. You must project an aura of do not touch, like a wounded wolf. If you see a wolf with a broken leg, do you run up and try to hug it? No. It will bite your face off. It goes into a cave, licks its wounds, and waits until it can hunt again. Be the wolf. This will confuse people. They are used to the social script, where you cry and they comfort. When you refuse the script, they will get angry. You're being distant. You're bottling it up. You're acting weird. Let them think whatever they want. You are not bottling it up. You are processing it internally. There is a difference. You are turning the pain into data, not drama. The danger of social media. We have to address the digital pity party. Social media encourages you to be fragile. You see people posting videos of themselves crying. You see long captions about their mental health journey, and they get thousands of likes. They get hearts. They get, "You're so brave." This is a trap. It is a victim Olympics. Posting your vulnerability for strangers is not bravery. It is begging. You are begging for attention using your pain as the currency. It cheapens your struggle. Your pain is personal. It is sacred. It belongs to you. Why are you selling it for cheap likes from people who don't even know your middle name? When you post about your struggle, you get a temporary hit of validation, but you lose respect. People scroll past, click like, and think, "Wow, he's really losing it." They don't respect you, they pity you, and never confuse pity with respect. Respect is earned by surviving in silence, not by broadcasting the suffering. Delete the draft. Do not post the sad selfie. Disappear. Let them wonder if you are dead. And then, 6 months later, re-emerge with a new life, a new body, and a new empire. That is the flex. The flex is the results, not the process. The only valid support. Does this mean you need to be completely alone? No. But you need to change the type of people you are around. You don't need sympathizers. You need operators. You need friends who will look at your wreckage and say, "Okay, this sucks. Get up. Here is a shovel." You need friends who don't care about your feelings, but care about your future. These people are rare. They are usually savages themselves. They have been through the fire, so they know that hugging you won't help. They know that the only thing that helps is action. If you have a friend who says, "Stop crying and go to the gym," keep that friend. That is love. Love is holding you to a standard when you want to collapse. Love is refusing to let you be a victim. If you don't have friends like that, be alone. Solitude is better than false comfort. In solitude, you are forced to face yourself. You are forced to realize that nobody is coming to save you. That realization is the turning point. As long as you are surrounded by helpers, you think help is coming. When you are alone in the dark, you realize, "I am the help." The mindset shift from broken to under construction. Sympathy is for broken things. Admiration is for things under construction. When you drive past a construction site, you don't say, "Oh, look at that poor pile of dirt." You say, "Wow, they are building something huge there." You need to reframe your state. You are not a ruin. You are a job site. There is mud. There is noise. There is chaos. But there is a blueprint. When you reject sympathy, you are putting up a sign that says, "Hard hat area. Danger. Men at working." You are telling the world that this is an active zone of transformation. You don't have time for tears because you are pouring concrete. This protects your dignity. It changes your posture. You stop slumping. You stop looking for a shoulder to cry on. You start looking for tools, the test of strength. It takes zero strength to accept pity. Gravity does the work. You just fall into their arms. It takes immense strength to stand straight when your knees are shaking and say, "I am fine." It is a lie, yes, but it is a strategic lie. It is a lie that becomes the truth. By acting strong, you become strong. By refusing to acknowledge the weakness, you starve the weakness. Fake it until you become it. Wear the mask of the savage until the mask fuses to your face. The withdrawal. Be warned. When you cut off the sympathy supply, you will go through withdrawal. You will feel lonely. You will feel cold. You will want to pick up the phone and call your mom and cry. You will want to text your ex. You will want to go to the bar and tell the bartender your story. Do not do it. Sit on your hands. Bite your tongue until it bleeds. Endure the cold. This coldness is necessary. Cold hardens steel, heat tempers it. You are going through the process of metallurgic hardening. If you stay warm and cozy in the blanket of sympathy, you will remain soft iron. You will bend the next time life hits you. We are trying to turn you into high-carbon steel. Steel does not ask for a hug. Steel holds the bridge up. Conclusion. Sympathy is a poison that tastes like sugar. Spit it out. Look at the people trying to feed it to you. See them for what they are: enablers, vampires, or spectators enjoying the show. Close the door in their faces. Lock it. Turn around and look at the mess of your life. It is just you and the rubble. No audience, no applause, no comfort. Good. Now we can work. Now that we have cleared the room of the distractions and the do-gooders, we have to look at the damage. We have to be honest about what actually broke. Most people lie about the damage. They minimize it or they exaggerate it. In the next chapter, we are going to do a forensic audit. We are going to walk through the crash site with a clipboard and a flashlight. We are going to take the inventory of wreckage. No emotions, just facts. Are you ready to see how much you actually lost? Chapter 3. The Inventory of Wreckage. The funeral is over. The mourners have gone home. You have rejected the poison of sympathy. Now you are standing alone at the crash site. Imagine a plane crash. There is smoke. There is debris scattered for miles. There is twisted metal. It is a scene of total chaos. Most people, when they look at the crash site of their own life, cover their eyes. They scream. They panic. They run away. They cannot bear to look at the magnitude of the destruction. You do not have that luxury. You are the insurance adjuster. You are the crash investigator. Your job today is to walk through the burning wreckage of your life with a clipboard and a pen and document every single thing that was destroyed. We are going to perform an inventory of wreckage. This process requires you to be cold. You must turn off your heart and turn on your calculator. Emotions are not allowed in this chapter. Tears blur your vision, and we need 20/20 vision right now. We are not asking, why does it hurt? We are asking, what is the cost? If a building collapses, the engineers don't cry about the architecture. They measure the structural failure. They count the lost bricks. They assess the foundation. You are the engineer. Grab your clipboard. Let's walk through the zones of destruction. Zone 1, financial wreckage. This is usually the easiest to measure, but the hardest to face. Open the apps. Open the envelopes you have been hiding in the drawer. Open the emails from the creditors. Look at the number. What is the damage? Did you lose your savings? Did you lose the house? Are you in debt? Stare at the negative sign. $50,000, $100,000, $100,000. Most people live in a state of financial delusion after a crisis. They vaguely know they are broke, but they don't know exactly how broke. This vagueness is a defense mechanism. If you don't know the number, you can pretend it isn't real. Make it real. Write it down. I have 0 assets. I have X amount of debt. My credit score is number. Do not rationalize it. Oh, but the market will turn around. Oh, but I have potential. Potential is not cash. Right now, you are insolvent. You have no resources. You are starting from beneath the floorboards. Acknowledge the sunk cost. The money you spent on that failed business? Gone. The money you spent on the wedding? Gone. The money you lost in the gamble? Gone. It is never coming back. You will never be reimbursed. The sooner you accept that the money is incinerated, The sooner you stop trying to dig through the ashes, hoping to find a burnt dollar bill. Mark it as a total loss. Move on. Zone 2. Relational wreckage. Now we walk to the part of the crash site where the bodies are. Who did you lose? If you went through a divorce or a breakup, that is a casualty. Write it down. Relationship status: terminated. But go deeper. Who else? Did you lose friends who took the other side? Write them down. Did you lose business partners who lost respect for you? Write them down. Did you lose the trust of your children? Write that down in red ink. This isn't about blaming them for leaving. This is about acknowledging that they are gone. You are operating with a skeleton crew. Maybe your contact list used to be full of important people. Now, when you scroll through it, how many would actually pick up the phone if you called at midnight? 2? 1? None? That is your reality. You are socially bankrupt. Your reputation, which took years to build, is likely in tatters. People are talking about you. They are whispering. They are saying you lost it. Let them talk, but acknowledge the damage. You no longer have social capital. You cannot trade on your name anymore because your name is mud. You are starting over as a nobody. Write it down. I am a nobody. This is not an insult. It is a tactical assessment. Being a nobody gives you the freedom of anonymity, but you have to admit you are a nobody first. Zone 3. Physical wreckage. Walk over to the mirror, strip down, look at the machine. What did the stress do to you? Did you gain 30 pounds of fat? Or did you wither away into a skeleton because you couldn't eat? Look at your face. Look at the dark circles under your eyes. Look at the gray hairs that weren't there a year ago. Look at your skin. Is it pale? Is it broken out? Trauma is not just mental. It is biological. Your body has been bathing in cortisol for months. Your adrenal glands are fried. Your testosterone is likely in the gutter. You are physically degraded. If you tried to run a mile right now, could you? If you had to fight for your life physically, could you? Probably not. You are weak. You are fragile. Write it down. Physical condition: critical. Energy levels: depleted. Do not lie and say, "I'm just taking a break." No. You let yourself go. The vehicle is rusted and the tires are flat. You cannot drive this car in a race. It needs a complete overhaul. Zone 4. The mental as spiritual wreckage. This is the invisible damage. Open up your skull and look at the wiring. What beliefs were destroyed? Did you believe that hard work always pays off? Well, you worked hard and lost everything. So that belief is shattered. Did you believe that love conquers all? Well, she left. So that belief is shattered. Did you believe that God protects the good? Well, you tried to be good and you got crushed. So that belief is shaken. You are suffering from a crisis of faith. Not necessarily religious faith, but faith in the laws of the universe. You feel like gravity has stopped working. You feel like the rules of the game changed without anyone telling you. Your confidence is at zero. You doubt your own judgment. You used to be decisive. Now you can't even decide what to eat for dinner because you are terrified of making another mistake. I trusted my gut last time and it destroyed me. How can I trust my gut again? Write it down. Confidence: zero. Trust in self: broken. Worldview: shattered. Zone 5. The why. Structural failure analysis. Now comes the hardest part of the audit. We have looked at what broke. Now we must ask why it broke, and you are not allowed to say bad luck. Bad luck is an excuse for children. Bad luck is what victims say to avoid looking at the design flaws. Planes rarely crash because of bad luck. They crash because of pilot error, mechanical negligence, or ignoring the weather reports. Why did your plane crash? Was it arrogance? Did you think you were invincible? Did you ignore the warning signs because you thought you were smarter than everyone else? Did you leverage yourself to the hilt because you thought the market would only go up? Write it down. Cause of crash, ego. Was it naivety? Did you trust someone you shouldn't have? Did you ignore the red flags because you wanted to be loved? Did you sign the contract without reading it? Write it down. Cause of crash, blindness. Was it laziness? Did you let your marriage rot because you were too tired to water the plant? Did you lose your job because you were doing the bare minimum? Did you get sick because you refused to exercise? Write it down. Cause of crash, neglect. You must find the single point of failure. If you don't find it, you will rebuild the plane, take off, and crash again for the exact same reason in 3 years. You have a pattern. Look at your history. Is this the first time you've crashed? Or is this just the biggest one? Do you have a history of choosing toxic partners? Do you have a history of gambling? Do you have a history of quitting when it gets hard? Identify the glitch. This isn't about self-hatred. It is about diagnostics. I have a tendency to avoid conflict. That avoidance caused the cancer to grow until it killed the relationship. I have a need for immediate gratification. That need caused the debt. Own the crash. I crashed the plane. Say it. I was the pilot. I flew it into the mountain. This is the only way to regain power. If you say, "The mountain hit me," you are powerless. Mountains don't move. If you say, "I flew into the mountain," you have power. You can learn to fly better. The total write-off. In accounting, when an asset is destroyed and has no value, you write it off. You remove it from the books. You stop counting it as wealth. You have to perform a massive write-off. The life you thought you were going to have? Write it off. The retirement you planned? Write it off. The happy family picture? Write it off. Stop trying to salvage the scrap metal. Imagine a car that has been crushed into a cube. You are standing there with a wrench trying to fix the engine. The engine is a cube of metal. It is gone. Stop trying to fix the old life. Sweep the debris into a pile. The bedrock. Now that we have cleared the debris, what is left? If you take away the money, the house, the spouse, the status, and the ego, what remains? You are looking for the bedrock. The bedrock is the things that cannot be destroyed. Your breath. You are still breathing. That means the biological machine is still running. Your mind. It is traumatized, yes, but it can still process data. It can still learn. Your will. The fact that you are listening to this means there is a spark, a tiny, angry spark that refuses to go out. Your skills. If you knew how to sell before, you still know how to sell. If you knew how to code, you still know how to code. They can take the job, they can't take the skill, the time. You have today. You have 24 hours in front of you. That is your inventory. I have breath. I have a brain. I have a spark. I have skills. I have time. It doesn't look like much. It looks like a pile of dirt compared to the skyscraper you used to have. But it is enough. Empires have been built on less. Rock bottom is solid. That is the good news about the crash. You hit the ground. You can't fall any further. The anxiety of, "What if I lose it all?" is gone. You lost it all. The worst-case scenario happened, and you are still standing. You are now dangerous because you have nothing to lose. A man with a mansion is afraid of a fire. A man sleeping on the ash has no fear of fire. The final report. Close the clipboard. Look at the document you just created. Inventory of wreckage. It is ugly. It is a long list of failures, losses, and pains. It is the receipt for your past. Take a good look at it. Memorize it. This is the price you paid for your ignorance. This is the tuition fee for the University of Life. It was an expensive education. Do not waste it. You are now standing in the middle of a flat, empty field of ash. The wind is blowing. It is quiet. The noise of the crash is over. The screaming is over. You have a choice. You can sit in the ash and weep until you die. Or you can start looking for raw materials. You can't use the old materials. The wood is burnt. The glass is shattered. But there is metal here. Twisted, heat-treated metal. Metal that has been through the fire. We are not going to glue the pieces back together. Glue is weak. Glue washes away in the rain. We are going to use a different process. We are going to take the broken shards of your life, melt them down in a blast furnace, and forge something completely new. We are not repairing. We are reforging, and that requires heat. That requires violence. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about the method of reconstruction. We are going to talk about why healing is the wrong word. We are going to talk about welding, not gluing. Drop the clipboard. Pick up the torch. Chapter 4. Welding, not gluing. You have a pile of broken shards in front of you. This is your life. The natural instinct, the weak instinct, is to reach for the glue. You want to pick up the pieces of your shattered relationship, your shattered career, or your shattered ego, and carefully stick them back together. You want to make it look like it did before. You want to hide the cracks. You use emotional superglue. You use affirmations. You use positive thinking. You use distractions. You use rebound relationships. You use alcohol. You are desperately trying to hold the pieces in place, hoping that if you just stand still enough, the glue will dry, and you can pretend that the vase never broke. But deep down, you know the truth. Glue is weak. Glue is superficial. Glue is a surface-level bond. The moment you put any real pressure on that glued vase, it will shatter again. And this time, it will shatter into dust. If you try to glue your life back together, you are building a fragile existence. You will walk around terrified of bumping into anything. You will live in fear of the next crack. You will be a porcelain doll in a world of sledgehammers. We are not here to glue. We are here to weld. Do you know the difference? Gluing adds a sticky substance between two broken pieces. It is a foreign agent holding them together. Welding uses heat. Extreme, white-hot, blinding heat. Welding melts the base metal. It turns the solid edges into liquid. It fuses the two pieces so that they become one single piece. At the molecular level, a proper weld is stronger than the original metal. If you try to break a welded pipe, it will not break at the weld. It will break somewhere else. The scar is the strongest point. This is what we are going to do to your soul. We are not going to patch you up. We are going to melt you down. The physics of transformation. To weld, you need 3 things. Preparation, grinding the rust. Heat, the arc. Filler material. New habits. Let's look at preparation. You cannot weld dirty metal. If there is rust, paint, or oil on the metal, the weld will fail. It will be porous. It will look okay on the outside, but inside, it is full of air bubbles. It is weak. Most people try to build a new life on top of dirty habits. They try to start a new business while they are still lazy. They try to start a new marriage while they are still lying to themselves. They haven't cleaned the surface. You have to take a grinder to your life. The grinder is radical honesty. You have to grind away the excuses. You have to grind away the victim story. You have to grind away the entitlement. Sparks will fly. It will be loud. It will be abrasive. It strips you down to the bare, shiny metal of who you actually are. No more, I'm a good person who had bad luck. Grind that off. I'm a person who made mistakes and ignored red flags. That is clean metal. Now we can work. The necessity of heat. Now comes the scary part. The arc. To weld steel, you need temperatures around 3,000 to 20,000 degrees Celsius. You need to bring the energy of the sun down to the tip of a torch. In your life, heat is pressure. Heat is pain. Heat is intensity. You cannot rebuild a strong life in the comfort zone. The comfort zone is room temperature. Nothing melts at room temperature. Nothing fuses. You need to introduce thermal shock to your system. This is why I told you to stop seeking sympathy. Sympathy cools you down. Sympathy is a bucket of ice water. It's okay. Relax. No, don't relax. You need the heat. Where does the heat come from? It comes from the struggle. It comes from doing things that you are physically and mentally afraid to do. You want to weld your confidence back together? You don't do it by looking in the mirror and saying, I love myself. That is glue. You do it by stepping into the fire. Go to the gym and lift until your hands bleed. That is heat. Cold call 50 people who scream at you. That is heat. Sit in the silence of your empty house and face your demons without turning on the TV. That is heat. The heat melts your ego. It liquefies the rigid structures of your personality. When you are exhausted, when you are pushed to your absolute limit, your defenses drop. The fake you melts away. And in that molten state, you can be reshaped. The flux. In welding, there is a substance called flux. It prevents oxidation. It protects the hot metal from the air so it doesn't get corrupted. In your life, the flux is focus. When you are in the heat of reconstruction, the world will try to contaminate you. Distractions, doubts, old friends, bad advice. This is the oxygen trying to rust your new weld. You must coat yourself in focus, tunnel vision. I am doing this. Nothing else matters. If you stop halfway through a weld, the metal cools. If you try to start again, you get a cold lap. It is a defect. You have to keep the arc lit. You have to keep the intensity up until the job is done. You cannot take a cheat day on your character development. You cannot take a break from being disciplined. If you let the metal cool too early, it cracks. The fusion of the new identity. Most people think of healing as returning to who I was. I want to be the old me again. Impossible. Welding changes the metallurgical structure of the steel. It is not the same steel anymore. It has been heat-treated. It is harder. It is less flexible, perhaps. But it is infinitely more durable. You are becoming a hardened target. The old you was cast iron, strong but brittle. If you hit it hard, it shattered. The new you is forged steel. If you hit it, it rings. It absorbs the shock. It dents, maybe, but it does not shatter. This fusion happens in the moments of decision. Every time you choose the hard path over the easy path, you are laying a bead of weld. Zzzt. You chose the salad over the pizza. Weld complete. Zzzt. You chose to work late instead of going to the bar. Weld complete. Zzzt. You chose to apologize and take ownership instead of blaming. Weld complete. Drop by drop, bead by bead, you are stitching your soul back together with fire, the scar. Look at a weld. It is not invisible. It is a raised, rippled scar on the metal. It is ugly to some people. It is industrial. It looks rough. But to an engineer, a good weld is beautiful. It represents structural integrity. You will have scars. You will never look like the untouched people again. There are people in this world who have never been broken. They have smooth skin. They have bright, naive eyes. They are innocent. You are not them, and you should not want to be them. They are unproven. They are untested. You don't know if their boat floats because it has never been in a storm. Your boat has been sunk, salvaged, and welded back together with armor plating. Your boat is ugly. Your boat has rivets and patches and burn marks. But your boat is unsinkable. Do not hide your scars. Do not try to cover up the fact that you went through hell. The scar is the proof of the weld. When people see your intensity, your seriousness, your refusal to tolerate bullshit, that is the scar showing. They might say, "He's changed. He's so serious now." Yes, I am. Because I know what happens when you are careless, the structural test. How do you know if you welded or if you glued? You test it. A glued life falls apart at the first sign of trouble. You healed from your breakup by finding a new partner immediately. Glue. Watch what happens when that new partner annoys you. You will crumble. You will panic. The crack will reopen instantly. You healed from your bankruptcy by getting a lucky loan. Glue. Watch what happens when the bill comes due. You will have the same panic attack. A welded life holds. You rebuilt your confidence by being alone for a year and working on yourself. Weld. When a new partner leaves, you will be sad, but you will not break. You know you can survive alone because you forged that capacity in the heat of solitude. You rebuilt your wealth by learning a high-value skill and saving every penny. Weld. If the market crashes, you won't panic. You know you have the skill to earn it back. The rejection of the broken label. There is a Japanese art called kintsugi. We will talk about this more later, but the principle applies here. They take broken pottery and repair it with gold lacquer. They highlight the cracks rather than hiding them. But welding is more violent than kintsugi. Welding is Western. It is industrial. It is for machines of war. You are building a war machine. You are not a vase. You are a tank. A tank doesn't care if it has scratches. A tank cares if its armor holds. Stop trying to be pretty. Stop trying to appear normal for your neighbors. Your neighbors are sheep. You are becoming a wolf. Wolves don't care if their fur is matted with blood. They care if they can hunt. The process of slag removal. When you see weld, there is a byproduct called slag. It is a crust of impurities that forms on top of the weld bead. After the weld cools, you have to take a chipping hammer and smash the slag off to reveal the shiny metal underneath. This is the cleanup phase of your life. You have gone through the fire. You have changed your habits. But there is still some crust left over. Some old friends who don't fit. Some old clothes that don't fit. Some old beliefs that don't fit. Chip them off. It requires force. Clang, clang, clang. Get rid of the debris. Reveal the work you have done. Why it takes so long. Gluing takes 5 minutes. Welding takes hours. It requires skill. It requires protective gear. It is dangerous. This is why you are frustrated. You want to be better already. I've been working on myself for a month. Why am I not happy? Because you are building a skyscraper, not a Lego set. Deep structural work is slow. It happens in the dark. You are fusing the basement levels. Nobody can see the work you are doing yet. They just see a hole in the ground. Let them laugh at the hole. They don't know you are pouring reinforced concrete that can withstand a nuclear blast. The welder's mask. To weld, you must wear a mask. The light is too bright. It will blind you. You have to focus entirely on the puddle of molten metal. You cannot look at the surroundings. This is your life right now. Put your mask on. Block out the rest of the world. Block out the news. Block out the gossip. Block out the opinions of your family. Look only at the task in front of you. Look at the puddle. Is this habit serving me? Is this action making me stronger? Is this thought making me weaker? Focus on the bead. Steady hand. Don't rush. If you rush, you get a weak weld. 1 inch at a time. 1 day at a time. The final product. When you are done, you will be heavy. Have you ever picked up a piece of solid steel? It is surprisingly heavy. It has density. People who have welded themselves back together have gravitas. They have weight. When they walk into a room, you feel their presence. They are not flighty. They are not anxious. They are grounded. You cannot push them over. You can yell at them. You can insult them. You can try to hurt them. But they are solid. They have integrated their shadow. They have integrated their pain. They are whole. But remember, you cannot weld without burning something. You have to burn the old version of you. You have to burn your comfort. You have to burn your excuses. If you are afraid of the fire, you will stay broken. If you are afraid of the pain, you will stay scattered. Pick up the torch. Turn on the gas. Strike the arc. It is going to hurt. It is going to be hot. But when the smoke clears, you will be unbreakable. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about the quarantine. Welding requires a controlled environment. You cannot weld in the rain. You cannot weld when people are throwing dirt on your work. You need to isolate yourself from the contamination of weak people. We are going to talk about the quarantine of weakness. It's time to seal the blast doors. Chapter 5. The quarantine of weakness. You are currently in the intensive care unit. You might be walking around, going to work and buying groceries, but psychologically, you are a burn victim. We just stripped off your dead skin. We just applied the intense heat of the welding torch to your soul. You are raw. You are exposed. You are vulnerable. In a hospital, when a patient is this critical, what do the doctors do? Do they let anyone walk into the room? Do they let people with the flu come in and cough on the open wounds? No. They establish a quarantine. They seal the room. They put up a sign, sterile environment, authorized personnel only. They wear masks and gloves. They filter the air. Why? Because when a body is rebuilding itself, it has no immune system. A simple cold virus that wouldn't hurt a healthy person will kill a burn victim. You are the patient, and the world is full of viruses. We are going to talk about the quarantine of weakness. You are trying to rebuild your life, but you are doing it in a sewer. You are surrounded by people who are sick, not physically, but mentally. They are sick with negativity. They are sick with laziness. They are sick with the victim mentality. And right now, you are catching everything they have. You hang out with a complainer for an hour, and suddenly you feel heavy. You feel cynical. That is an infection. You hang out with a lazy friend, and suddenly your ambition evaporates. That is a contagion. You cannot weld a perfect seam in the rain. You cannot build a microchip in a dust storm. And you cannot rebuild a sovereign mind while surrounded by peasants. The biology of contagion. This isn't just a metaphor. It is biology. Your brain contains something called mirror neurons. These neurons are designed to copy the behavior and emotional states of the people around you. It is an evolutionary survival mechanism. If the tribe is scared, you get scared. If the tribe is resting, you rest. If you are surrounded by weak people, your mirror neurons are working overtime to lower your frequency to match theirs. You are literally fighting your own biology to stay positive. It is exhausting. You are spending 50% of your energy just trying not to be dragged down. Imagine how much faster you would heal if you could use 100% of your energy for growth and 0% for defense. That is why we quarantine. We are going to seal the blast doors. We are going to create a clean room around your life. Identifying the pathogens. Who are the viruses? You know them. You just don't want to admit it because you have history with them. But we've been friends since high school. I don't care. If a sandwich is from high school and it's moldy, do you eat it? No. You throw it out. Here are the strains of the virus you must isolate. Strain A, the energy vampires. These people turn every conversation into a therapy session for themselves. They are always the victim. The boss hates them. The weather is bad. Their back hurts. They suck the life out of the room. When you leave them, you feel tired. Right now, you have limited energy. You are running on a backup generator. You cannot afford to feed vampires. If you give them your energy, you will not have enough left to weld your own life back together. Strain B, the anchors. These are the people who love the old you. They loved the drinking buddy. They loved the pushover. They loved the guy who was always available to waste time. When they see you changing, they panic. They try to pull you back. Come on, you've changed. You're no fun anymore. Just one drink. They are anchors. They are terrified that if you sail away, they will realize they are stuck in the mud. Cut the chain. Strain C, the skeptics. These are the dream killers. You tell them, I'm going to start a business. They say, most businesses fail. The economy is bad. Are you sure? They disguise their doubt as concern. It is not concern, it is projection. They are afraid to try, so they want you to be afraid too. If you listen to them while you are fragile, their doubt will become your reality. The Do Not Disturb protocol. So how do you execute the quarantine? You do not need to make a big dramatic announcement. You do not need to post on Facebook, I am cutting off all toxic people. That is weak behavior. That is seeking attention. Real quarantine is silent. You just disappear. Step 1. The digital wall. Mute their stories. Unfollow their accounts. If they are truly toxic, block them. You cannot have their voices in your head. Every time you read their negativity, it enters your brain. It is a drop of poison in your water supply. Protect your eyes. Protect your feed. Step 2. The slow fade. Stop initiating. Stop texting first. Stop making plans. When they text you, take 24 hours to reply. Give short answers. Hey, want to hang out? Can't. Busy working. Eventually, they will stop asking. They will move on to an easier source of supply. Step 3. The hard no. For the persistent ones, you have to be direct. Hey, I'm going through a heavy rebuilding phase right now. I need to be alone for a while. I'm going off the grid. I'll reach out when I'm ready. If they respect you, they will understand. If they get offended, they just confirmed they are a virus. Block them. The fear of loneliness. I know what you are thinking. If I cut everyone off, I'll be all alone. Yes, that is the point. You are terrified of being alone because when you are alone, you are forced to sit with your own thoughts. You are forced to look at the wreckage without distraction. You use people as anesthesia. You use social interaction to numb the silence. The quarantine forces you to go cold turkey. You are going to feel lonely. You are going to feel bored. Good. Boredom is the soil of creativity. Loneliness is the school of self-reliance. If you cannot be happy alone, you will never be happy with others. If you cannot validate yourself, you will always be a slave to other people's opinions. You need to learn how to sit in an empty room and feel complete. This is the monk mode. Monks go into the mountains not because they hate people, but because they love enlightenment. They know they cannot find God in a marketplace. You cannot find your new self in a bar. The sanctity of the environment. Look at your physical space. Your apartment, your room, your car. Is it clean or is it messy? A messy room is a reflection of a messy mind. If your environment is chaotic, your reconstruction will be chaotic. Clean it up. Throw away the junk. Organize the papers. Make your bed. Turn your home into a fortress of order. When you walk through your front door, the chaos of the world should stop. This is your sanctuary. No negativity allowed inside these walls. No news allowed on the TV. No toxic people allowed on the couch. You are the gatekeeper. If you let someone come into your house and dump trash on the floor, who is to blame? You are. You opened the door. Stop opening the door. The incubation period. How long does the quarantine last? As long as it takes for your immune system to return. You will know when you are ready to re-enter the world. You are ready when you no longer feel the need to explain yourself. You can hear negativity and not let it affect your mood. You can look at your old friends and feel nothing but indifference, not hate, just indifference. You have built a new routine that is rock solid. For some, this takes 3 months. For others, it takes a year. Do not rush it. If you leave the ICU too early, you will get an infection and die. Better to stay in isolation a month too long than a day too short. The new standards. During the quarantine, you are writing a new set of laws for your life. You are raising the price of admission. In the past, anyone could be your friend. The only requirement was proximity. We work in the same office, so we are friends. We live on the same street, so we are friends. That is a low standard. The new you has high standards. To enter your circle now, a person must bring value. They must be positive. They must be ambitious. They must be loyal. If they don't meet the criteria, they stay on the other side of the glass. You are the VIP section now. The velvet rope is up. The bouncer is big. Most people will not get in. And that is fine. A crowded VIP section is not a VIP section. It's a mosh pit, dealing with family. This is the hardest part. What if the virus is your mother? What if the virus is your brother? You cannot divorce your family, usually, but you can put them in limited access. You treat them like radioactive material. You can handle them, but only for short periods, and only with protective gear. Keep the conversations short. Keep them surface level. Do not share your dreams with them. Do not share your pain with them. They have lost the privilege of knowing your inner world. If every time you talk to your dad, he makes you feel small, stop calling him every day. Call him once a week for 10 minutes. But that's mean. No. It is survival. You are protecting the child inside you that he keeps hurting. You are the adult now. It is your job to protect the inner child. The transformation in the dark. A caterpillar does not turn into a butterfly in the open. It builds a cocoon. The cocoon is a quarantine. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar literally dissolves. It turns into goo. It completely deconstructs. If you cut open the cocoon halfway through, you would kill it. It needs the protection of the shell to reorganize its cells. You are in the goo phase. You are dissolving. It is messy and gross and private. Do not let anyone see you in the goo phase. Stay in the cocoon. Let them think you died. Let them start rumors. Where did he go? He fell off the map. Let them talk. While they are talking, you are growing wings, the power of secret work. There is a power in doing things that nobody knows about. Working out at 4 a.m. when the world is asleep. Reading books on Saturday night when everyone is drinking. Building your business in the dark. This secret work builds a dense, heavy confidence. You know something they don't know. You know that you are outworking them. You don't need to brag about it. The results will shout loud enough eventually. The quarantine protects this secret work. If you tell people what you are doing, they will talk you out of it. Or they will praise you prematurely, giving you a fake dopamine hit. I'm going to write a book. Wow, that's amazing! Now you feel like you wrote the book, but you haven't written a single word, and you lose the drive to actually write it. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your head down. Keep the door locked. Conclusion. The world is dirty. You are an open wound. Seal the room. Turn off the phone. Say no to the invite. Sit in the silence. Listen to the buzzing of the lights. Look at the welding torch in your hand. You are alone. And for the first time in your life, that is exactly where you need to be. There is nobody here to save you, but there is also nobody here to stop you. The walls are up. The air is filtered. Now we can begin the dangerous work. Now we can pick up the pieces of the trauma, the shards of glass that cut your hands, and we can start to build a weapon. In the next chapter, we are going to stop just surviving the pain. We are going to start using it. We are going to learn how to turn sadness into nuclear propulsion. We are going to talk about weaponizing the trauma. The quarantine is set. The lab is open. Let's build a bomb. Chapter 6. Weaponizing the trauma. You are sitting on a gold mine, and you think it is a garbage dump. You look at your pain, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the shame, the anger, and you see it as a burden. You see it as something heavy that you have to carry around. You see it as baggage. You are wrong. Pain is not baggage. Pain is fuel. You are currently in possession of the most potent energy source known to man. Think about the physics of a nuclear bomb. What is it? It is the splitting of an atom. It is something being broken apart. That break releases a massive, terrifying amount of energy. You have been broken apart. The atom of your life has been split. And right now, that energy is radiating off you in waves of heat. But because you don't know how to harness it, the radiation is just making you sick. It is poisoning you. It is turning into depression and anxiety. We are going to build a containment field. We are going to build a reactor core. We are going to take that nuclear waste and shove it into the engine of your ambition. We are going to weaponize the trauma, the law of conservation of energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. You cannot just make the pain go away. You cannot delete energy. If you try to suppress it, push it down, it becomes a tumor. It becomes an ulcer. It becomes an addiction. If you try to express it passively, crying, it dissipates into the air and is wasted. You must transmute it. You have to take the energy labeled sadness and rewrite the code so it becomes the energy labeled drive. You have to take the energy labeled rage and rewrite it to focus. How? by changing the output mechanism. Sadness is passive. Rage is active. Right now, you are probably spending a lot of time being sad. Sadness is a heavy, slow vibration. Sadness wants to stay in bed. Sadness wants to turn off the lights. Sadness is surrender. Sadness is the feeling of, I lost. Rage is different. Rage is fire. Rage is fast. Rage wants to break things. Rage wants to move. Rage is the feeling of, no, I refuse to lose. The first step of weaponizing trauma is to convert your sadness into rage. Stop asking, why did this happen to me? Sad victim question. Start asking, how dare they do this to me? Angry warrior question. Get mad. Seriously, get angry. You should be offended by your current situation. You should be disgusted by how low you have fallen. You should be furious at the people who bet against you. Anger is not a negative emotion. That is hippie nonsense. Anger is a survival tool. It is the adrenaline shot to the heart. When you are lying on the floor bleeding, sadness tells you to close your eyes and die. Anger tells you to stand up and fight. Use the anger. Let it boil. Do not let anyone tell you to calm down. Calm people don't rewrite their DNA. Calm people don't build empires from ashes. Obsessed, angry, driven people do. The dark side of the Force. In Star Wars, the Sith use their passion, their anger, and their hate to gain power. The Jedi use peace. Eventually, you want to be a Jedi. You want peace. But right now, you are in a war for your survival. You need the dark side. You need dirty fuel. Clean fuel is inspiration, love, and joy. That is great fuel when life is going well. But when life is hell, you don't have access to clean fuel. You only have the dirty stuff. You have spite. You have chip-on-the-shoulder energy. You have the desire to prove them wrong. Burn it. Is it healthy to work out because you hate your ex? Probably not in the long run. But is it effective? Absolutely. If hating your ex gets you to the gym every day for 6 months, use it. If wanting to humiliate your old boss gets you to build $1 million company, use it. You can switch to cleaner fuel later, once you have momentum. But to get the rocket off the ground, you need the explosive stuff. You need the kerosene. The mechanics of conversion. So how do you actually do this? You create a direct link between the pain trigger and the productive action. Scenario A. The heartbreak trigger. You are sitting at home. A memory of your ex pops into your head. You feel that stabbing pain in your chest. You miss them. You feel lonely. Old reaction. Open a bottle of wine. Scroll through old photos. Cry. Result. Wasted energy. Headache. Regret. New reaction. The moment the pain hits, you drop to the floor. You do push-ups until you physically fail, until your chest burns more than your heart. You transfer the emotional pain into physical pain. Result. You get stronger. The endorphins kill the sadness. You use the pain to build muscle. Scenario B. The humiliation trigger. You remember the bankruptcy. You remember the creditor screaming at you. You feel shame. You feel small. Old reaction. Hide. Watch TV to forget. Sleep. Result. You stay broke. New reaction. The moment the shame hits, you open your laptop. You make 10 sales calls. You study a new skill for 2 hours. You tell yourself, I will work until my bank account is so big that nobody can ever talk to me like that again. Result. You get richer. You regain control. This is Pavlovian conditioning. You are retraining your brain. Pain, work. Pain, focus. Pain, reps. Eventually, you will become a monster. When bad things happen, you won't get sad. You will get excited. Oh, a crisis? Good. I'm about to get a lot of work done. Oh, a rejection? Good. I'm about to hit a PR in the gym. You become anti-fragile. The more they hurt you, the stronger you get. Imagine fighting an opponent who gets bigger every time you punch him. That is you. Eventually, the world stops punching you because it realizes it is only making you more dangerous. The chip on the shoulder. People say, "You have a chip on your shoulder," as if it's a bad thing. The greatest men in history had chips on their shoulders the size of boulders. Michael Jordan, Steve Jobs, Napoleon. They were all driven by a perceived slight. They were all trying to prove something. That chip is your supercharger. It is the voice in your head that says, "They think you're finished. They think you're a joke. Show them." Protect that chip. Don't let people talk you out of it. Just let it go, they say. No. Hold on to it. Polish it. Look at it every morning. Remember who doubted you? Remember who laughed? I keep a list. I call it the Black Book. It's not a list of people I want to hurt physically. It's a list of people I want to outgrow metaphysically. When I am tired, when I want to quit, I open the Black Book. I read the names, and suddenly, I'm not tired anymore. I have energy. I cannot quit, because if I quit, he wins. Spite is a powerful motivator. Use it. The shadow work. Carl Jung talked about the shadow. It is the dark, repressed part of your psyche. Most people run from their shadow. They try to be nice, but the shadow contains all your aggression, all your dominance, all your primal power. When you weaponize trauma, you are integrating the shadow. You are accepting that you are not a harmless bunny rabbit. You are a dangerous animal that has been wounded, and a wounded animal fights harder than a well-fed one. Stop trying to be a nice guy. Nice guys get crushed. Be a good man, yes. Have a code. Be ethical. But do not be nice. Be formidable. When you walk into a room, people should feel the weight of your history. They should feel that you have walked through fire and survived. That creates an aura of respect. People don't mess with the guy who has dead eyes and scarred knuckles. They move out of his way. The exhaust pipe. Now, a warning. When you run a high-performance engine on dirty fuel, there is exhaust. There is pollution. You will be intense. You might be hard to be around. You might be obsessive. That is the price you pay. During the Reconstruction phase, you are not trying to be balanced. Balance is for people who are standing still. You are trying to climb out of a pit. You need traction, not balance. You will have to sacrifice some things. You might sacrifice your chill vibe. You might sacrifice your weekends. You become a machine. Input, pain. Output, results. Your friends might say, "You're so intense lately, you need to relax." They don't understand. They are not at war. You are. In war, you don't relax. You reload. Visualizing the reactor. I want you to visualize this. Inside your chest, where your heart used to be, there is now a cold, steel reactor core. Every time something hurts you, visualize it as a rod of uranium. Take that rod and slide it into the reactor. Click. Hear the hum of the engine increasing. Feel the heat rising. More pain? Give it to me. More rejection? Give it to me. More failure? Give it to me. I am hungry for it, because every piece of pain is just raw material for my ascension. I am an alchemist. I turn lead into gold. I turn shit into sugar. I turn trauma into triumph. This mindset makes you invincible, because you can no longer be hurt. You can only be fueled. If the world is nice to you, you win. If the world is mean to you, you win faster. The deadline. You must set a deadline for your weaponization. You cannot run on rage forever. Eventually, It burns out the engine. But you can run on it for a year or two. Give yourself a timeline. For the next 12 months, I am running on pure spite. I am going to build the foundation of my new life using the stones they threw at me. After that, once the house is built, you can switch to solar power, gratitude, peace. But while you are laying the bricks, use the fire. Real-life examples. Look at the gym. Who lifts the hardest? Is it the happy guy with the perfect life? No. It's the guy who just got divorced. It's the guy who just got fired. He is not lifting the weight. He is lifting the burden. He is pushing the planet away from him. He is exercising demons with every rep. Look at business. Who works the hardest? The kid who inherited millions? No. The immigrant who came here with nothing and was spat on. He works 18 hours a day. He sleeps under his desk. Why? Because he remembers the hunger. He remembers the disrespect. He has weaponized his poverty. You must do the same. Whatever your trauma is, find the opposite action. Trauma. I was physically weak and got beat up. Weapon. Become a martial arts master. Trauma. I was poor and mocked. Weapon. Become a deca-millionaire. Trauma. I was called stupid. Weapon. Read 100 books a year. The weapon must specifically counter the wound. The bigger the wound, the bigger the weapon. Conclusion. Stop crying. Crying is leaking energy. Wipe your face. Stand up. Take that heavy feeling in your chest, that tightness, that ache, and grip it. That is your battery. Do not let it go to waste. Look at the world with new eyes. They think they broke you? No. They just cracked the shell to let the monster out. They made a mistake. They should have finished you off, but they left you alive. And now, they are going to pay. Not with violence, but with the sheer, undeniable magnitude of your success. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about that payment. We are going to talk about the arc of your return. We are going to talk about the revenge arc. But remember, the best revenge is not burning their house down. It is building a castle so big that it casts a shadow over their entire life. Are you ready to build the castle? Then let's pour the concrete. Chapter 7. The Revenge Arc. Let's be honest. You want revenge. You are human. Someone hurt you. Someone betrayed you. Someone looked you in the eye and told you that you weren't enough. And deep down, in the lizard brain, you want them to suffer. You want to slash their tires. You want to ruin their reputation. You want to send them a text message that destroys their soul. You are fantasizing about their downfall. Stop it. That is small revenge. That is the revenge of a peasant. When you slash someone's tires, or gossip about them, or try to sabotage them, do you know what you are telling the world? You are telling the world, this person still controls me. This person still has power over my emotions. You are reacting to them. And as long as you are reacting, you are the subordinate. You are the sidekick in their movie. Small revenge is pathetic. It is messy. It keeps you in the mud with the pigs. I am offering you something better. I am offering you grand revenge. Grand revenge is not about hurting them. It is about outgrowing them. It is about ascending to a level of existence so high that they can no longer reach you, touch you, or even understand you. It is about becoming a giant, so that when you look down, they look like ants. Do you hate ants? Do you plot revenge against ants? No. You don't even notice them. You step over them. That is the goal. Total, absolute, irrelevance, the economics of hate. Let's look at the math. Hate is expensive. It costs energy to hate someone. It costs mental RAM to obsess over what they did. If you spend 50% of your energy trying to destroy your enemy, you only have 50% left to build your own life. Meanwhile, if they are not thinking about you, they are winning. The best revenge is not destroying their house. It is building a skyscraper next to their house, so massive that it blocks their sun. You don't touch their property. You just cast a shadow. A shadow so long and so cold that they have to live in it for the rest of their lives. This requires you to be selfish. Stop thinking about them. Start thinking about the skyscraper. Every minute you spend stalking their Instagram is a minute you didn't spend laying a brick. Every minute you spend talking about them to your friends is a minute you didn't spend mixing concrete. The Ghost Protocol. How do you execute grand revenge? You disappear. We talked about the quarantine, but this is specific to the enemy. You cut the line. Zero contact. Zero visibility. You do not block them to get a reaction. You block them to remove the noise. Let them think they won. Let them think they destroyed you. Let them laugh. Let them tell people, "Oh, him? Yeah, he crashed and burned." Let them get comfortable. While they are celebrating their petty victory, you are in the dark. You are in the gym. You are in the library. You are in the office. You are mutating. You are changing your body. You are changing your bank account. You are changing your mind. This is the silent period. It creates a mystery. Where did he go? What is he doing? Silence is terrifying to your enemies. If you are screaming, they know where you are. If you are silent, you could be anywhere. You could be doing anything. Silence breeds paranoia. Let them be paranoid. The re-emergence. Then, one day, you re-emerge, but not as the person they knew. You come back as version 2.0. Maybe it's 6 months later. Maybe it's 2 years later. They see a picture of you. Or they run into you on the street, and they don't recognize you. You look younger. You look stronger. You are wearing better clothes. You are holding yourself with a different posture. You are not the broken mess they left on the floor. You are a king. And the look on their face, that split second of shock, that confusion, that is worth more than any angry text message you could ever send. That is the moment the power dynamic flips. In that moment, they realize they made a mistake. They realize they bet against the wrong horse. They realize they threw away a diamond because they thought it was glass. And you smile. A polite, cold smile. "Hello. Good to see you." And you keep walking. You don't stop to argue. You don't stop to brag. You have places to be. That walkaway is the knife in the heart. It tells them, "You are a footnote in my history. You are a speed bump I drove over miles ago." The haunting. Grand revenge creates a haunting. You don't have to haunt them. Your success haunts them. Every time they hear your name, it stings. Every time they see your success, it stings. If you become undeniable, they cannot escape you. If you build a great business, they will see your logo. If you get in great shape, they will see your photos. If you become happy, they will feel your joy radiating from a distance, and it will burn them. Regret is the most painful emotion a human can feel. Anger fades. Sadness fades. But regret festers. It grows with time. I had him, and I let him go. I betrayed her, and look at her now. You want to plant the seed of regret in their brain and let it grow into a tree. You don't have to water it. Your success waters it. You just keep winning. The more you win, the more they suffer, and you don't even have to lift a finger against them. You are just living your life. This is the ultimate efficiency. You get the dream life, and they get the nightmare of missing out. Two birds, one stone. The thank you note. Here is a radical thought. You should be grateful to them. Without the betrayal, you would still be asleep. Without the heartbreak, you would still be complacent. Without the crash, you would still be driving that old, beat-up car of a life. They woke you up. They pushed you off the cliff, forcing you to learn how to fly. They were the villain in your story, yes, but every hero needs a villain. The villain creates the pressure that makes the diamond. In your mind, never to their face, write them a thank you note. Thank you for hurting me. I needed the pain to become this strong. Thank you for leaving me. I needed the space to find myself. Thank you for doubting me. I needed the motivation to prove you wrong. When you can genuinely thank your enemy, you have transcended them. You are no longer their victim. You are their beneficiary. They tried to bury you, but they didn't know you were a seed. They poured dirt on you, and you used it as fertilizer. The indifference test. How do you know when the revenge arc is complete? It isn't when they apologize. They won't. It isn't when they beg for you back. Even if they do, it doesn't matter. It is when you reach total indifference. Hate is not the opposite of love. Hate and love are both intense obsessions. They are both sides of the same coin. If you hate them, you are still obsessed. The opposite of love is indifference. It is the feeling of nothing. You look at them and you feel bored. You feel like you are looking at a stranger. You don't wish them harm. You don't wish them well. You just don't care. They are a character from season 1 of a show that is now in season 10. They were important to the plot back then. Now, they don't have any lines. When you reach indifference, you are free. You have cut the energetic cord. You have reclaimed the 50% of energy you were spending on hate. Now you have 100% for yourself. The trap of checking. During the revenge arc, you will be tempted to check the score. You will want to check their social media. Are they happy? Are they miserable? Did they fail? Do not do it. Checking on them is drinking poison. If they look happy, you will be mad. If they look sad, you might feel a flicker of pity, which we already established is dangerous. Your eyes must be fixed forward. Winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners. If you are focusing on them, you are the loser. Even if you are doing better, you are losing the mental game. Block the view. Assume they are miserable. Assume they are irrelevant. It doesn't matter what they are doing. The only score that matters is the one on your scoreboard. The upgrade. Revenge is about the upgrade. You cannot just replace what you lost. You must exceed it. If you lost a job, the revenge is not getting a similar job. It is starting a company that buys your old company. If you lost a partner, the revenge is not finding a similar partner. It is becoming the kind of person who attracts high-value partners effortlessly. You have to change tax brackets. You have to change area codes. You have to change fitness levels. The gap between old you and new you is the measure of your revenge. Make the gap so wide that nobody can bridge it. The scenario. Visualize this. It is 5 years from now. You are sitting in a nice restaurant. You are wearing a tailored suit. You look healthy, rested, and powerful. You are laughing with friends who respect you. The door opens. In walks the person who broke, you. They look tired. They look the same as they did 5 years ago, maybe a little worse. They are wearing the same clothes. They are complaining about the same problems. They see you. They freeze. They see the table. They see the suit. They see the energy. They realize in that second, that you are out of their league. They realize they couldn't even get a reservation at your table today. You nod at them. Just a nod. Then you turn back to your friends and continue the story. You don't feel angry. You don't feel sad. You just feel lighter. You realize that the monster wasn't a monster. They were just a small, broken person who hurt you because they were hurt. And you realize that you are the giant. That is the victory. That is the revenge arc, the daily fuel. Until you reach that day, use the anger. When the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and you want to sleep, think of their face. Think of them laughing at you. Think of them saying he'll never make it. Let that image drag you out of bed. Let that image push the weights. Let that image write the business plan. I will show them. I will show them all. It is a dark energy, yes, but it is effective. Drive the car with whatever fuel you have. Just don't stop driving. Conclusion. You are currently writing a script. Most people write a tragedy where the hero gets hurt and stays hurt. You are writing a redemption story. The kind of story where the hero comes back from the dead and conquers the kingdom. But remember, the king does not chase the peasant. The king sits on the throne. Build the throne. Climb the steps. Sit down. And let them watch from the mud. Now I have to warn you, this arc, the journey from the mud to the throne, is not a straight line. It is not a movie montage where you work out for 3 minutes and suddenly you are Superman. It is ugly. It involves days where you feel like you are dying. It involves relapses. It involves crying on the bathroom floor even after you thought you were strong. We need to talk about the reality of the process. We need to talk about ugly healing. Real growth isn't pretty. It's disgusting. It looks like an open surgery. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about the blood, the pus, and the mess of getting better. Are you ready to get your hands dirty? Chapter 8. Ugly Healing. You have been lied to. You have watched too many movies. You have seen too many Instagram reels. You think healing is a beautiful process. You picture a montage, upbeat music playing, you waking up early, drinking green juice, journaling in the sunlight, and smiling as you jog down the beach. You think healing looks like a spa day. You think Reconstruction looks like a makeover show. I am here to tell you that real healing looks like a crime scene. Real healing is ugly. It is gross. It is terrifying. Real healing is waking up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat, screaming into your pillow because the nightmare felt too real. Real healing is crying on the bathroom floor until you dry heave, and you don't even know why you are crying. Real healing is staring at the wall for 4 hours because your brain is rebooting and you can't function. We are going to talk about ugly healing. If you expect this process to be linear, clean, and dignified, you will quit. Because when the ugly part starts, and it will start, you will think you are failing. You will think, I'm getting worse. You aren't getting worse. You are detoxing. The detox protocol. Imagine a heroin addict quitting cold turkey. Does it look pretty? No. They are shaking, they are vomiting, they are hallucinating, they are in physical agony. To an outsider, they look like they are dying. But actually, that is the moment they are becoming alive. That is the moment the poison is leaving the body. You are detoxing from years of weakness. You are detoxing from the trauma bond. You are detoxing from the identity of a victim. The poison has to come out. And it doesn't come out quietly. It comes out screaming. You are going to have mood swings. 1 minute you will feel like a god. I can do anything. I am sovereign. 10 minutes later, you will feel like a worm. I am worthless. I miss her. I want to die. This is not a sign of mental illness. This is a sign of recalibration. Your brain chemistry is rewiring itself. The old pathways, victimhood, are being starved, and they are fighting for survival. The new pathways, sovereignty, are fragile and trying to connect. It is a war inside your skull. Of course it feels chaotic. It is chaos. The myth of the straight line. You think progress looks like a straight line going up. Day 1, good. Day 2, better. Day 3, best. No, real progress looks like a stock market crash followed by a rally, followed by another crash. Day 1, I feel strong. Day 2, I feel strong. Day 3, I had a panic attack in the grocery store and had to leave my cart and run to the car. When you have that panic attack, the glitch will say, "See? It's not working. You're back to square one." That is a lie. You are not back to square one. You are at square 3, but you just tripped. The fact that you are even at the grocery store is progress, considering last month you couldn't leave the house. You must accept the 2 steps forward, 1 step back rhythm. It is frustrating. It is maddening. But it is the physics of growth. Muscles tear before they grow. Bones ache before they harden. You have to break down to build up, the emotional vomit. You have been suppressing your emotions for years. You have been swallowing your anger, swallowing your sadness, swallowing your truth to keep the peace. Well, the stomach is full. It's time to purge. Ugly healing involves periods of uncontrollable emotion. You might be driving to work, and suddenly a song comes on, and you start weeping. Not a single tear. I mean ugly, snot-nosed, gasping weeping. Let it happen. Do not stuff it back down. That is the infection draining. If you have a boil on your skin, you have to lance it. You have to squeeze the pus out. It is disgusting. It smells bad. It hurts. But if you leave the pus inside, you get sepsis and you die. Your tears are the pus. Your rage is the infection leaving the wound. Get it out. Scream in your car. Punch a heavy bag until your knuckles bruise. Write angry letters and burn them. Do whatever you have to do to empty the tank. Better out than in. The messy middle. You are currently in the messy middle. You are not the old you anymore. That person is dead. We buried them in chapter 1. But you are not the new you yet. That person is still being forged. So who are you? You are a mutant. You are a construction site. You are half demolished building, half skyscraper. It looks weird. People will look at you and be confused. He's acting strange. She's so inconsistent. Yes, because I am under construction. Have you ever seen a house being renovated? There is plastic everywhere. There is dust. The walls are ripped open. You can see the pipes. It looks like a disaster. But the architect knows it's exactly where it needs to be. You have to be okay with being a mess for a while. Stop trying to present a perfect image to the world while you are renovating your soul. Let the plastic hang. Let the dust settle. Tell people, I'm messy right now. Deal with it or leave. The pain of rehab versus the pain of injury. You need to distinguish between 2 types of pain. The pain of injury. This is the pain of being broken. It is sharp, useless, and destructive. The pain of rehab. This is the pain of stretching a stiff muscle. It hurts like hell, but it is productive. Ugly healing is rehab pain. When you go to physical therapy after a surgery, the therapist bends your leg, you scream, it hurts. But if you don't bend it, the scar tissue hardens and you never walk again. When you force yourself to go to the gym when you are depressed, that is rehab pain. When you force yourself to be alone when you are lonely, that is rehab pain. It hurts. It feels wrong, but it is breaking the scar tissue. You have to fall in love with this specific type of pain. You have to say, "This hurts because I am stretching. This hurts because I am growing. If it didn't hurt, it wouldn't be working." The shame of regression. There will be days when you relapse, not necessarily into drugs or alcohol, but into old habits. You will have a day where you stay in bed until 2 p.m. You will have a day where you check your ex's social media for 3 hours. You will have a day where you binge eat junk food, and the next morning, you will feel shame. You will feel like a hypocrite. I'm listening to this audiobook about being a savage, and I just acted like a loser. Listen to me. Do not shame the shame. Shame is a spiral. If you feel shame about being weak, you get weaker. Acknowledge the slip. Okay, yesterday I was weak. I acted like a loser. That was an old me behavior. Don't beat yourself up. Beating yourself up is just another form of self-pity. Just correct the course. I slipped. Stand up. Dust off. Keep moving. The relapse is part of the recovery. It shows you where the cracks still are. It shows you what triggers you still need to weld shut. The isolation of the ugly phase. Nobody wants to be around you during ugly healing. You are not fun. You are intense. You are moody. You are unpredictable. You might lose more friends during this phase. Let them go. They want the after picture. They don't want to be around for the during picture. Society loves a comeback story, but they only love the end of the story. They love the part where you hold up the trophy. They don't love the part where you are vomiting in the locker room. You have to be your own best friend right now. You have to hold your own hair back while you puke. You have to bandage your own wounds. This is why we talked about solitude. You need privacy to be ugly. You need a space where you can fall apart and put yourself back together without an audience. Do not perform your breakdown. Keep it private. Cry in the shower so nobody hears you. Then wash your face, walk out, and be a soldier. The zombie days. There will be days where you feel nothing. Not sad, not happy, just dead. You are a zombie. You are moving on autopilot. You go to work, you do the job, you come home, you stare at the wall. This is anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. It is a defense mechanism. Your system has blown a fuse because there was too much voltage, trauma. So now the lights are out. Don't panic. The lights will come back on. But while you are a zombie, keep walking. A zombie doesn't stop just because it's dead. It keeps moving forward. If you can't feel passion, rely on discipline. I don't feel like working out. Doesn't matter. The zombie lifts the weight anyway. I don't feel like eating clean. Doesn't matter. The zombie chews the broccoli. Execute the routine even if you feel dead inside. Eventually, the spark will return. But if you stop moving, you will rot. The temptation to quit. Ugly healing is long. It takes longer than you think. You will be 6 months in, and you will think, why am I still sad? Why do I still think about it? And you will want to quit. You will want to say, I guess I'm just broken forever. That is the devil talking. The devil wants you to accept your brokenness as a permanent state. He wants you to settle for a limping life. You must have patience, not passive patience, waiting. Active patience, working while waiting. You are growing a tree. You can't scream at a seed to grow faster. You can only water it and wait. If you dig up the seed every day to check if it's growing, you kill it. Trust the process. Trust the darkness. You are underground. You are germinating. Just because you can't see the sun doesn't mean you aren't growing toward it. The beauty of the scar. Eventually, the wound closes. The scab falls off, and you are left with a scar. The scar is ugly. It is pink, jagged, and raised. But it is sealed. It is tough. You poke it, and it doesn't bleed. You press on it, and it doesn't hurt. That is the goal. We are not trying to erase the history. We are trying to stop the bleeding. When you can look at your past and tell the story without crying, you have healed. When you can think about the person who betrayed you and feel nothing, you have healed. But to get there, you have to go through the puns, the blood, and the pain. You have to embrace the ugly. Stop trying to be aesthetic. Stop trying to make your life look good on Instagram. Stop trying to pretend you have it all together. Embrace the grit. Wear the sweatpants. Don't do your hair. Let the apartment be messy as long as it's clean. Focus on the internal work. Who cares if you look good if your soul is rotting? I would rather look like a homeless person and have the mind of a king than look like a model and have the mind of a victim. Prioritize the foundation, not the paint. We can paint the house later. Right now, we are fixing the cracks in the basement. The final warning. If you run from the ugly, it chases you. If you try to skip the ugly phase, you will just loop back to it later. You see this with people who jump into new relationships too fast. They skip the grieving. They skip the lonely nights. And 6 months later, they have a breakdown because the old wound got infected under the new bandage. Face it now. Pay the bill now. It is a high bill. It costs everything. But if you pay it now, you never have to pay it again. Sit in the dark. Let the demons scream at you. Scream back. Is that all you got? You can't kill me. I am ugly right now, but I am becoming something terrifyingly beautiful. You are a monster in the making, and monsters are born in the dark. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about the things that go bump in the night. We are going to talk about the memories, the flashbacks, the ghost of your past life that keeps tapping you on the shoulder. You can't just ignore the ghost. You have to hunt it. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about killing the ghost. It's time to perform an exorcism. Chapter 9. Killing the ghost. You have done the work. You have welded the cracks. You have weaponized the pain. You are building a new life. But you are not alone in your head. There is a squatter living in your brain. You feel it when you are driving alone at night. You feel it when you wake up at 3 a.m. You feel it when you smell a certain perfume or hear a specific song. It is the ghost. The ghost is the memory of the past. It is the voice of the person who hurt you. It is the playback of your biggest failure. It is the intrusive thought that whispers, "Remember when you were happy? Remember what you lost?" You cannot build a new empire if your castle is haunted. You cannot focus on the future if you are constantly looking over your shoulder because you feel a cold breath on your neck. Most people try to ignore the ghost. They turn up the music. They drink to drown out the whispering. They run. But you know the rule of horror movies. If you run, the monster chases you. If you run, the monster gets bigger, scarier, and faster. We are going to stop running. We are going to turn around, lock the door, and hunt the ghost. We are not going to perform a séance. We are going to perform an exorcism. The anatomy of a haunting. What is a ghost? It is not a spirit. It is a neural pathway. It is a loop of electricity in your brain that has been burned in deep by trauma. Trauma is like a branding iron. It sears the memory into your hippocampus so deeply that your brain thinks the event is still happening right now. When you have a flashback, Your body reacts as if you are back in the crisis. Your heart races. Your palms sweat. You flood with cortisol. You are time traveling against your will. The ghost feeds on fear and avoidance. Every time you avoid a certain street because it reminds you of her, you feed the ghost. Every time you turn off a song because it makes you sad, you feed the ghost. You are telling your brain, this memory is dangerous. Fear it. So your brain keeps the ghost alive to warn you. To kill the ghost, you must starve it of fear. You must prove to your brain that the memory is just a memory. It has no teeth. Step 1. Reclaiming the territory. You have ceded territory to the enemy. There are places you won't go. Restaurants you won't eat at. Parks you won't walk in. Because that's where we went. Or that's where it happened. This is unacceptable. You are the sovereign of your reality. You cannot have no-go zones in your own city. You must reclaim the land. You have to go back. I want you to go to the restaurant where you had the breakup dinner. I want you to drive past the house you lost. I want you to sit in the place where you received the bad news. It will be terrifying. Your heart will hammer. You will want to vomit. Do it anyway. Sit there. Look around. Order a coffee. Drink it. Look at the table. It's just a table. Look at the walls. They are just walls. Stay there until your heart rate slows down. Stay there until the panic subsides. You are rewriting the code. You are overwriting the trauma memory with a new memory. Now that restaurant isn't the place where my heart broke. It is the place where I had coffee on a Tuesday. You strip the location of its power. You make it boring. This is called desensitization. You do it over and over again until the ghost has nowhere to hide. You chase the ghost out of the restaurant, out of the park, out of the city. Take back your map. Step 2. The auditory exorcism. Music is a powerful trigger. Smell is a powerful trigger. You have a playlist of songs you can't listen to. That was our song. That song played at the funeral. When those songs come on, you skip them fast. Like you touched a hot stove. Stop skipping. Put the song on repeat. Put headphones on. Turn the volume up. Listen to it. The first time, you will cry. The second time, you will cry. The 10th time, you will feel numb. The 50th time, you will just be annoyed by the song. The 100th time, it will just be background noise. You have to scrub the emotional charge off the artifact. You wash it in repetition until the color fades. Do not let a melody hold you hostage. It is just vibrating air. Master the air. Step 3. The empty chair technique. The ghost talks to you. It says things like, "You'll never find anyone better. You ruined everything. You are a failure." Usually you try to shut it up. You try to argue. Instead, invite the ghost to sit down. Visualize an empty chair in front of you. Imagine the person or the version of you that is haunting you is sitting there. Look at them and speak. Say everything you never got to say. Scream at them. I hate you for what you did. I forgive you because you are weak. You are dead to me. And then, this is the most important part, listen. Imagine what they would say back. Usually the ghost loses its power when you look it in the eye. You realize the ghost isn't a monster. It's just a memory of a flawed person. It shrinks. It becomes transparent. Tell the ghost, "You have no power here. This is my house. Get out." Visualize yourself opening the door and kicking the chair out. Slam the door. Lock it. Step 4. Burning the shrine. We talked about packing away the physical items. Now we must talk about the digital shrine. Your phone is a haunted house. It is full of photos, texts, emails, and voicemails. You revisit them. You scroll back to 2019 to see when things were good. You listen to the old voicemails to hear their voice. You are worshiping at the altar of the dead. You are keeping the ghost alive by feeding it your attention. Delete it. But I want to keep the memories. Why? Are those memories helping you pay rent? Are those memories helping you build muscle? Are those memories making you happy? No. They are making you sad. They are keeping you stuck. If you can't bring yourself to delete them, put them on a hard drive, put the hard drive in a box, and give the box to a friend. Tell them not to give it back for a year. Get them off your phone. Your phone is a tool for the future, not a museum for the past. If you wake up every morning and the first thing you see is a "on this day" notification showing you a picture of your old life, you are starting your day with a ghost. Turn that feature off. You don't live in "on this day." You live in this day. Step 5. The reframing. Ghosts haunt you because the story isn't finished, or because you don't like the ending. You view the story as a tragedy. I was the victim. I lost. You need to edit the script. You need to change the genre of the movie. It isn't a tragedy. It is an origin story. Batman's parents dying is a tragedy. But without it, there is no Batman. The ghost is not a sign of your failure. The ghost is the catalyst for your transformation. When the memory comes up, don't say, "Oh, that was so sad." Say, "That was the moment I woke up. That was the moment I learned not to trust blindly. That was the moment I became a savage." Thank the ghost for the lesson, and then dismiss the class. I learned what I needed to learn. You are dismissed. The night terrors. The ghost is strongest at night. When you are lying in bed, in the dark, and there are no distractions, that is when it attacks. It replays the highlight reel of your mistakes. You need a night protocol. Do not lie in bed for hours wrestling with the ghost. If you can't sleep after 20 minutes, get up. Change your state. Go to the living room. Read a book, a technical book, not a story. Do some stretching. Break the loop. Do not let your bed become a battlefield. Your bed is for sleep and sex, nothing else. If you associate your bed with rumination, you will get insomnia. Insomnia makes you weak. Weakness feeds the ghost. If the thoughts persist, write them down. Keep a notebook by the bed. Brain dump. Write down exactly what the ghost is saying. I'm afraid I will be alone forever. I'm afraid I am broke. Once it is on paper, it is out of your head. You have captured the ghost in the trap of the page. Close the book. I will deal with this in the morning. Right now, I sleep. The lucid dream. You are the master of your own mind. You have to believe this. You are not a passive observer of your thoughts. You are the thinker. You can change the channel. When a bad memory starts playing, visualize a remote control in your hand. Press stop. Literally visualize the image freezing. Press mute. Visualize the sound cutting out. Turn the image black and white. Shrink the image down until it is the size of a postage stamp. Then flick it away into the sun. This is NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. You are hacking the visual representation of the memory. If you make the memory small, silent, and black and white, it loses its emotional punch. If you make it big, loud, and colorful, which is what you usually do, it hits you like a truck. Control the screen, the vacuum. When you finally kill the ghost, you will notice something strange. Silence. The drama is gone, the sadness is gone, the narrative is gone, and suddenly your mind feels empty. You might actually miss the ghost. The pain was familiar. The obsession gave you something to do. Without the ghost, you are just a person alone in a room. Do not invite the ghost back just because you are bored. Fill the vacuum with new data. Fill it with your goals. Fill it with your plans. Fill it with new problems to solve. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you don't fill that space with ambition, the ghost will creep back in. The final burial. There comes a day when you realize you haven't thought about the ghost in a week, then a month, then a year. One day someone will say their name, and you will struggle to remember their face. That is the death of the ghost. It fades away not with a bang, but with a whimper. It dies of neglect. It dies of starvation. You have starved it by refusing to feed it fear, refusing to feed it attention, and refusing to feed it nostalgia. You have won. The house is clean, the lights are on. There are no shadows in the corners anymore. You can walk through the halls of your own mind without fear. You can sleep with the lights off. Conclusion. The haunting is over. You have faced the past, and you have stared it down. You have realized that a memory cannot hurt you unless you give it a weapon. You have taken the weapon away. Now, you have a clean house. But a clean house is not enough. You need to decorate it. You need to fill it with gold. You need to take the cracks in the foundation, the scars that are left over from the haunting, and turn them into art. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about kintsugi. We are going to talk about why you shouldn't paint over your scars. We are going to talk about why the broken parts of you are actually the most expensive parts. The ghost is dead. Long live the king. Chapter 10. Gold in the cracks. Kintsugi. You are ashamed of your history. I see it. You are trying to hide the cracks. You are trying to paint over the damage. You are walking around wearing a mask, hoping that nobody notices that you were once shattered into 1,000 pieces. You are obsessed with the idea of being pristine. You think that value comes from being untouched. You think that the most valuable thing in the world is a brand new car without a scratch, or a brand new phone without a dent. You are wrong. That is the mindset of a consumer. Consumers value new, collectors, people who understand true value, value history. A brand new sword is worth $100. A sword that has been to war. A sword that has nicks in the blade from clashing with enemy steel. A sword that has survived the fire. That sword is priceless. We are going to talk about the Japanese art of kintsugi. When a precious ceramic bowl breaks in Japan, the masters do not throw it away. They do not glue it back together with clear adhesive to hide the crack. They do the opposite. They mix the lacquer with pure gold. They fill the cracks with gold. They highlight the fracture. They make the break the most visible, beautiful, and expensive part of the object. Why? Because they believe that the break is part of the object's history. It is part of what makes it unique. Before the bowl broke, it was identical to 1,000 other bowls in the factory. It was a commodity. After it broke and was repaired with gold, it became one of a kind. It became art. You are the bowl. You have been running around trying to be a factory-perfect human. You want to have the perfect resume, the perfect marriage, the perfect mental health record. But life took a hammer to you, and now you are standing there, holding your shards, crying because you aren't perfect anymore. Good. Perfection is boring. Perfection is cheap. Perfection is fragile. Nobody trusts perfect people. When I meet someone who claims they have never failed, never been heartbroken, and never lost money, I don't trust them. I don't hire them. I don't follow them. Why? Because they have no data. They have no experience. They are children. I trust the man with the scar. I trust the woman with the limp, because I know they have survived something. The economics of scars. Let's look at this coldly. What is a scar? A scar is biological proof that you healed. It is skin that is tougher and thicker than the original skin. What is a mental scar? It is wisdom. You cannot buy wisdom. You cannot read wisdom in a book. You can only earn wisdom by making a mistake, suffering the consequence, and surviving it. The pain you went through? That was the price tag. You paid a heavy price. Maybe you paid your life savings. Maybe you paid your marriage. Maybe you paid your sanity for a year. That was expensive tuition, so why are you hiding the degree? If you paid $100,000 for a master's degree from Harvard, you would hang it on your wall. You would be proud of it. But you paid $100,000 for a master's degree in bankruptcy, and you are hiding it in the closet? That is stupidity. You paid for the gold. Use it. Reframing the defect, Kintsugi changes the definition of broken. In the West, broken means trash. In Kintsugi, broken means an opportunity for expansion. The gold lacquer actually adds width to the bowl. The bowl becomes bigger than it was before. You are bigger now. You have more capacity. Think about empathy. Before you were broken, you couldn't understand other people's pain. You were arrogant. You judged people. Why don't they just work harder? Why don't they just leave him? Now, you know. You know how heavy the weight is. You have expanded your emotional range. You can connect with people on a level that the pristine you never could. Think about resilience. Before the crash, you were afraid of crashing. Now, you know you can survive the crash. You have expanded your risk tolerance. You are dangerous now because you are no longer afraid of the worst-case scenario. You have lived the worst-case scenario, and you are still standing. The golden narrative. How do you apply Kintsugi to your life? It's in the storytelling. Most people tell their story with shame. They whisper about their divorce. They hide the gap in their resume. They use clear glue. They try to make the crack invisible. Oh, I just took some time off. Lie. Oh, we just grew apart. Lie. Kintsugi demands that you paint the crack gold. You own the narrative. You highlight it. Why is there a gap in your resume? Kintsugi answer. I started a business. I failed. I lost everything. And I spent the last 2 years rebuilding my skills from the ground up. I learned more about economics in that failure than I did in 10 years of corporate work. That is why I am valuable to you. Do you see the difference? The first person is hiding a defect. The second person is flashing a gold medal. When you own your flaws, nobody can use them against you. If you say, yes, I was an addict and I beat it, nobody can blackmail you. You already exposed the truth. You took the power away from the gossipers and kept it for yourself. The authenticity filter. We live in a fake world. Social media is a gallery of fake perfection. Face-tuned faces, rented Lamborghinis, financed vacations. People are starving for something real. When you show your cracks, when you admit, I struggled with this, you become a magnet. You become the most interesting person in the room. People are drawn to the gold. They want to know, how did you survive? What did it feel like? How did you fix it? You become a teacher. The pristine person has nothing to teach. They can only say, be lucky like me. The Kintsugi person has a map through the minefield. Don't step there. I stepped there and blew my leg off. Step here instead. That value is immense. You can monetize your cracks. Write the book. Start the podcast. Coach the student. Your pain is your product. If you hide it, you are throwing away inventory. Anti-fragility aesthetic. There is a specific aesthetic to kintsugi. It looks ancient. It looks durable. It is the aesthetic of the veteran. Think about a leather jacket. Do you want the brand new, stiff, shiny leather jacket? Or do you want the one that is beaten up, faded, soft, and molded to the shape of the rider? The beaten-up jacket is cooler. It has soul. Your soul has texture now. Stop trying to iron out the wrinkles. The wrinkles are where the character lives. This applies to your face, too. You look in the mirror and see lines? Good. Those lines mean you laughed. Those lines mean you cried. Those lines mean you squinted into the sun. A smooth face is a blank page. A lined face is a novel. Be the novel, the bond of the broken. There is a secret society in this world. It is the society of the broken and rebuilt. When you meet another member, you know instantly. You see the gold in their cracks. You see the look in their eye that says, I have been to the bottom too. There is an instant trust. You don't get that trust with the normies. The normies are nice, but they are fragile. You have to be careful around them. You might break them. But with another kintsugi master, you can be real. You can drop the mask. Yeah, I lost it all in 2020. Me too. I lost it in 2018. Good times. The best. That conversation is worth more than 1,000 cocktail parties with superficial people. By hiding your cracks, you are preventing your tribe from finding you. Flash the gold so your people can see the signal. The repair is stronger. Let's go back to the engineering. The gold lacquer is a binding agent. It is hard. It seals the vulnerability. When you repair yourself correctly, as we discussed in the welding chapter, you eliminate the weakness that caused the break in the first place. If you broke because you were a people pleaser, and you repaired that crack with the gold of boundaries, you will never break from people pleasing again. That part of your wall is now armored. If you broke because you were financially illiterate, and you repaired that crack with the gold of financial education, you will never be broke again. You are patching the hull of your ship with titanium. Eventually, you will be all patches, and that is a good thing. A ship made entirely of titanium patches is indestructible. The art of acceptance. Kintsugi is a philosophy of radical acceptance. It rejects the idea of waste. In a throwaway culture, we replace things when they break. Broke your phone? Get a new one. Broke your relationship? Get a new one. Kintsugi says, no, fix it, honor it, keep it. Apply this to yourself. Don't throw yourself away. You felt like garbage in Chapter 1. You felt like debris. Pick yourself up. You are the artifact. You are the project. It takes patience to apply the gold. It is a slow process. You have to paint the lacquer, let it dry, sand it down, polish it. It requires love. Yes, self-love. Not the bubble bath kind, the craftsman kind, the kind of love a mechanic has for an old car he is restoring. He doesn't hate the rust. He attacks the rust because he sees the beauty underneath. Treat yourself like a restoration project. I am going to make this wreck the most beautiful car on the road. The rejection of shame. Shame is the solvent that dissolves the gold. If you are ashamed of your past, you are picking at the scab. You are trying to scrape the gold paint off because you don't want anyone to see it. Stop it. Shame is a useless emotion. It is a social control mechanism designed to keep you small. You should be ashamed of your divorce. Why? Half the world is divorced. You should be ashamed of being fired. Why? Steve Jobs got fired. Refuse the shame. Wear the scar like a Rolex. Yes, this happened. Yes, it hurt. Yes, look how beautiful the repair is. When you reject shame, you become untouchable. You become the man who cannot be insulted. If someone tries to use your past against you, you just smile and say, I know. I wrote the book on it. You steal their ammunition. The contrast. Gold is beautiful because of the contrast. Bright gold against dark clay. Light against dark. Triumph against tragedy. Your life is beautiful because of the contrast. If you were just happy all the time, your life would be a flat line. Beep, beep, beep. Flat line means dead. Life is a wave, up and down. The depth of your low determines the height of your high. You have been very low. That means you have the potential to go very high. You have the kinetic energy of a slingshot pulled all the way back. Don't resent the darkness. It is the background for your gold to shine. Conclusion. Look at your hands. Look at your heart. You are a mosaic. You are a piece of art in progress. Don't let anyone tell you that you are damaged goods. You are custom goods. You are limited edition. There is only one of you in the universe with your specific pattern of cracks and your specific pattern of repairs. That makes you rare, and rarity creates value. So pick up the brush, dip it in the gold, trace the lines of your pain, make them shine, make them so bright that people have to wear sunglasses to look at you. You are not broken. You are kintsugi. But now that we have repaired the vessel, now that we have made it beautiful and strong, we have to ask a question. Is it just for show? Or can it actually hold water? Can this new golden version of you handle the pressure of the real world? Or is it just a pretty object to sit on a shelf? We are not building shelf ornaments. We are building war vessels. We need to test the repair. We need to put the vase in a hydraulic press and see if the gold holds. In the next chapter, we are going to leave the art studio and go back to the lab. We are going to subject your new self to extreme loads. We are going to talk about stress testing the scars. It's time to see if the gold is real. Chapter 11. Stress testing the scars. You look good. You have stopped crying. You have cleaned your house. You have welded your life back together. You have painted your cracks with gold. You look like a warrior. But looks can be deceiving. There are plenty of cars that look like Ferraris, but have the engine of a lawnmower. There are plenty of bodybuilders who look strong, but can't run a mile without collapsing. And there are plenty of healed people who look stable until the wind blows. We are not building a museum piece. We are building a tank. And a tank that has never been fired upon is just a heavy metal box. It is unproven. We need to verify the repair. We need to take your newly welded, gold-filled soul and put it under a hydraulic press. We need to apply pressure. We need to see if the kintsugi holds, or if it cracks under the load. This is stress testing the scars, the fear of re-injury. Right now, you are terrified of testing it. It is natural. When you break a bone, even after the doctor tells you it is healed, you walk with a limp. You baby it. You favor the other leg. Why? Because your brain remembers the pain of the break. Your brain says, do not put weight on this. It is weak. This is the psychology of atrophy. If you listen to that fear, you will never regain full function. The muscle around the bone will wither away because you refuse to use it. You become permanently disabled, not by the injury, but by the fear of the injury. You are doing this with your life. You survived the divorce. but you refuse to date because you might get hurt. You survived the bankruptcy, but you refuse to invest because you might lose it. You are limping through life, protecting your scars. You must stop protecting them. Scars are tough tissue. They are meant to be used. Wolff's law in biology states that bones grow stronger only in response to mechanical load. If you don't load the bone, it gets brittle. If you don't load your psyche, it gets brittle. You have to put weight on the broken leg. You have to trust the weld. The test protocol. We are going to run a series of controlled experiments. We are not going to jump off a cliff today. That is suicide. We are going to do progressive overload. We need to identify the specific failure point that broke you last time, and then we need to poke it. Test 1. The trust test for relationship trauma. You were betrayed. Someone lied to you. Now you have trust issues. You check phones. You are paranoid. The glitch says, trust no one. The test says, trust a little. Find a low-stakes situation. Trust a friend with a small secret. See if they keep it. Trust an employee with a task without micromanaging them. See if they do it. Watch your internal reaction. Does your heart race? Do you feel the urge to check up on them? That urge is the phantom pain. Sit with it. Do not act on it. Let the anxiety burn. When they come through for you, when they keep the secret, when they do the task, your brain receives new data. Alert. Trust was given, and betrayal did not occur. The system is safe. You are recalibrating the threat sensor. You have to prove to your amygdala that not everyone is your ex. Test 2. The risk test for financial career trauma. You crashed your business or career. Now you are playing it safe. You are hoarding cash. You are working a job you are overqualified for because it is secure. You are stagnating. The test. Take a calculated risk. Spend money on an ad campaign. Buy a course. Pitch a bold idea to a client. Do something that has a chance of failure. Feel the fear of poverty rising up. What if I lose this 500? What if I end up under a bridge? Recognize the absurdity of that thought. You will not end up under a bridge over 500. That is the trauma ghost talking. Execute the trade. Win or lose, the victory is in the execution. You proved that you can pull the trigger again. The gun isn't jammed. Test 3. The solitude test for dependency trauma. You broke because you couldn't handle being alone. You were codependent. You have been working on yourself. But are you really independent? Or are you just distracting yourself with podcasts and audiobooks, like this one? The test. The silent weekend. Turn off the phone, turn off the internet, spend 48 hours alone in your house. No voices, no texts, no external validation, just you and the walls. If the demons come back, if you start spiraling, if you feel the desperate need to call someone, then the weld is not holding. You are still leaking. You need more welding, Chapter 4. But if you can sit in the silence and feel peace, then you are certified. You are solid. Interpreting the data, pain versus strain. When you stress test, you will feel sensation. You need to learn the difference between bad pain and good strain. Bad pain is sharp. It is the feeling of something tearing. In your mind, this feels like a panic attack. It feels like dissociation. It feels like you are drowning. If you feel this, stop. You are overloading the system. Back off. You are not ready for that weight yet. Good strain is dull. It is heavy. It is the feeling of effort. In your mind, this feels like nervousness. It feels like butterflies. It feels like resistance. If you feel this, push through. That is the feeling of your capacity expanding. Do not confuse discomfort with danger. Most of you stop at discomfort because you interpret it as danger. I feel nervous, so I shouldn't do it. Wrong. You feel nervous because it matters. Do it because you are nervous. The creak versus the snap. Imagine walking on a frozen lake. If the ice creaks, it is settling. It is holding your weight, but it is complaining about it. That is fine. Keep walking. If the ice cracks, a loud snap, you are in trouble. Your mind will creak. You will have doubts. You will have negative thoughts. I can't do this. They are going to laugh at me. That is just the ice creaking. It is just the old rust flaking off the gears. Ignore the creak. Unless you are having a full mental breakdown, the snap, keep moving. The certification of competence. Why do we do this? Because confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from evidence. You cannot affirm your way into confidence. You can stand in the mirror and shout, "I am strong," for 10 years. But if you have never lifted a heavy object, your brain knows you are lying. Your brain requires proof. Stress testing provides the proof. When you survive a difficult conversation without crying, you have proof. When you survive a risky investment without panicking, you have proof. When you survive a lonely weekend without texting your ex, you have proof. You collect these proofs like badges, and eventually, you don't have to try to be confident. You are confident because you know exactly what your load-bearing capacity is. I know I can handle X because I have handled X before. The anti-fragile response. We talked about being anti-fragile. A stress test is the mechanism of anti-fragility. Every time you test the scar and it holds, the scar gets tougher. Think of a callus on your hand. If you stop lifting weights, the callus gets soft. If you keep lifting, the callus stays hard. You need to keep applying friction to your soul to keep it tough. Do not seek a life of zero friction. A life of zero friction is a life of decay. You should wake up every morning and ask, "What is going to try to break me today?" And then smile. Let it try. The engineering report. After the test, you review the data. Okay, I went to the party. I felt social anxiety, creak. But I stayed for 2 hours and spoke to 3 people, success. I did not run away. Result, passed. Okay, I tried to launch the project. I got rejected. I felt shame, creak. But I sent 5 more emails immediately after. Result, passed. Okay, I saw my ex with someone else. I threw up and couldn't sleep for 2 days, snap. Result, failed. Action, more work needed in Zone 2, emotional control. Be objective. Don't beat yourself up for failing a test. If a bridge fails a wind tunnel test, the engineers don't hate the bridge. They add more steel. If you fail a test, add more steel. Go back to the gym. Go back to the books. Go back to the therapy. Then retest. The imposter syndrome. During this phase, you will feel like a fraud. I'm acting tough, but I'm actually scared inside. That is not fraud. That is courage. Courage is acting tough when you are scared. If you weren't scared, you wouldn't need courage. You would just need habit. You are supposed to feel like an imposter. You are impersonating a stronger version of yourself until the role becomes real. Keep acting. Eventually, the mask fuses to the face. Eventually, you forget you are acting. The shift in gravity. As you pass more tests, your center of gravity shifts. Before, your center of gravity was external. It was in other people's opinions. It was in your bank account. It was in your relationship status. If those things moved, you fell over. Now, your center of gravity is internal. It is in your scars, Your scars are the heaviest part of you. Gold is heavy. They anchor you. You become hard to knock over. People will notice this stability. They will try to push you just to see if you move. They will test you. Why are you so serious? Why don't you drink anymore? You think you're better than us? These are external stress tests. Pass them by not reacting. The mountain does not react to the wind. The mountain just stands there. Be the mountain. The final stress test, the crisis. The ultimate test will come when you least expect it. Life will look at your shiny new armor and say, "Let's see if it's real." And it will throw a crisis at you. A new breakup, a new job loss, a health scare. This is the final exam. The old you would have crumbled. The old you would have gone into a spiral of depression for 2 years. The new you will feel the hit. Wham! You will stagger, but you will not fall. You will look at the problem and say, "I recognize this. I have been here before. I have the map for this." And you will handle it. You will handle it with a cold, terrifying efficiency. You won't post about it. You won't complain. You will just solve it. And in that moment, when you solve a crisis that would have killed the old you will know. You will know that the reconstruction is complete. You will know that the gold is real. The danger of complacency. A warning. Once you pass the tests, you might get cocky. I'm fixed. I'm invincible. Hubris is the enemy of kintsugi. If you stop respecting the cracks, they can open up again. Never forget where you came from. Never forget the crash. You are strong, but you are not God. You are a machine that requires maintenance. Keep testing. Keep loading. Keep inspecting. Conclusion. You have put the weight on the bridge. It held. It creaked. It groaned. But it held. You are roadworthy. You are ready for traffic. You are ready for heavy loads. And because you know you are strong, you no longer need to obsess over the weakness. You no longer need to obsess over the trauma. The trauma is just a structural fact of your history. It is no longer the headline. You can finally stop thinking about it. You can finally let it go. Not because you are avoiding it, but because you have transcended it. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about the ultimate freedom. We are going to talk about forgetting. Most people think you have to remember to honor the past. No, you honor the past by outgrowing it. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about amnesia is a superpower. It's time to delete the old files to make room for the new ones. Are you ready to forget? Chapter 12. Amnesia is a superpower. You are carrying a backpack. It is heavy. It is digging into your shoulders. It is making you hunch over. Inside this backpack are rocks. Each rock has a label. The divorce, the bankruptcy, the betrayal, the mistake I made in 2012, the mean thing my father said in 1998. You carry this backpack everywhere you go. You take it to work. You take it to the gym. You take it on dates. And you wonder why you are tired. You wonder why you can't run as fast as the others. You think these rocks are valuable. You think they are who you are. You think that if you put the backpack down, you will lose your identity. You think that remembering every single detail of your trauma is a way of honoring it. I am here to tell you to drop the bag. I am here to tell you that your memory is not an asset. It is a liability. In the reconstruction of a broken life, amnesia is a superpower. The RAM analogy. Think of your brain like a computer. You have a limited amount of RAM, random access memory. RAM is the working memory, the processing power available to solve problems right now. Every time you open an app on your phone, It uses RAM. If you have 50 apps open in the background, your phone runs slow. It lags. It crashes. Your memories are open apps. The memory of your ex is an app running in the background, draining battery. The memory of your failure is an app running in the background, heating up the processor. You are trying to build a new life, a high-performance task, while running 50 high-stress programs from the past. No wonder you have brain fog. No wonder you have anxiety. You are out of RAM. You need to force quit the applications. You need to clear the cache. You need to wipe the browser history. This is what I mean by amnesia. I don't mean literal medical amnesia where you forget your name. I mean strategic selective amnesia. The ability to look at your past and say, file corrupted, delete. The historian trap. Most people are historians of their own misery. They can tell you exactly what happened on a Tuesday 5 years ago. They can quote the argument word for word. They replay the tapes constantly. They are obsessed with the archive. Why? Because the ego loves a story. The ego wants to be the star of a tragedy. Look at all the things I survived, the ego says. Look at my museum of pain. But historians don't make history. They just study it. Generals make history, and generals don't look back. If a general spends all his time obsessing over the battle he lost last year, he will lose the battle he is fighting today. You have to stop being the historian of your life and start being the architect of your future. An architect doesn't care about the building that burned down. He cares about the blueprints for the new one. Data versus emotion. There is a difference between data and emotion. You need to keep the data. You need to delete the emotion. Data. I touched the stove and it burned me. Conclusion. Do not touch the stove. Keep this. Emotion. The stove rejected me. I am a bad person for touching the stove. I relive the pain of the burn every night. Delete this. You need to strip the emotional charge from the memory. This is the process we started in Chapter 9, Killing the Ghost. But now we take it further. We want the file to be unreadable. When you think of your trauma, it should feel like reading a textbook about the Roman Empire. Caesar was stabbed. It is a fact. It happened. But you don't cry about it. You don't lose sleep over it. It is just historical data. I was divorced. Fact, data, no charge. I went broke. Fact, data, no charge. When you can state the facts of your life without your pulse rising, you have achieved strategic amnesia. The good old days lie. Amnesia isn't just for the bad stuff. It is for the good stuff too. Nostalgia is just as dangerous as trauma. I remember when I was rich. I remember when we were so in love. I remember when I was the captain of the football team. Who cares? That person is dead too. Living in the glory days keeps you stuck just as much as living in the trauma days. It makes you compare your current reality, which is messy, to a fantasy of the past. I used to be someone. No. You are someone. You are the person standing here right now. The trophy on your shelf is a piece of plastic. It doesn't help you today. The money you used to have doesn't buy groceries today. Forget the victories too. Treat every day as day one. Tom Brady wins a Super Bowl. The next day, he starts training for the next one. He has amnesia about the ring. He resets to 0. If he sat around polishing the ring, he would get soft. Forgiveness is deletion. People misunderstand forgiveness. They think forgiveness is a moral act. They think it is something you do for the other person. I forgive you because I am a holy person. No. Forgiveness is a selfish act of hard drive maintenance. Forgiveness is simply the command. Stop processing this file. When you hate someone, your brain is constantly processing them. You are running simulations of arguments. You are allocating resources to an enemy who isn't even in the room. When you forgive them, you are saying, I am not willing to spend any more energy on this. You are unplugging the server. You don't forgive them because they deserve it. You forgive them because you deserve the free disk space. Be ruthless with your forgiveness. I forgive you. Now get out of my head. Delete. Empty trash. The void of identity. If you delete your past, who are you? This is what scares you. You have defined yourself by your struggles for so long that you don't know who you are without them. If I'm not the betrayed wife, then who am I? If I'm not the failed entrepreneur, then who am I? You are the operator. You are the consciousness that is currently driving the vehicle. The vehicle has no history. It just has a direction. This void is freedom. If you have no past, you have no limitations. A person with no memory doesn't know they can't do something. They don't know they are supposed to be shy. They don't know they are supposed to be bad at math. They are free to try anything. Wake up tomorrow and pretend you just arrived on this planet. You have no backstory. You have no trauma. You just have a body, a brain, and 24 hours. What would you do? You would probably be bold. You would probably take risks. You would probably be happy. Because you aren't carrying the backpack. Practical techniques for forgetting. How do you actually induce amnesia? 1. Stop telling the story. We mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. Every time you tell the story of your crash, you refresh the memory. You strengthen the neural pathway. Stop talking about it. If you meet someone new, do not tell them about your trauma. Create a new backstory. I'm focusing on building my business. I'm training for a marathon. Define yourself by your future, not your past. If you stop speaking the words, the memory begins to fade. Language anchors memory. Cut the anchor. 2. Change the environment. Memory is associative. Your couch reminds you of your ex. Your office reminds you of the failure. Rearrange the furniture, paint the walls, buy new sheets, change the smell of your house. If you look at the same visual cues, you will trigger the same memories. Scramble the signal. If you can move to a new city, do it. If you can't, take a different route to work. Force your brain to process new data so it doesn't have time to fetch the old data. 3. The I don't recall technique. When a painful thought comes up, act like a corrupt politician in a court hearing. I don't recall. I have no memory of that event. Gaslight yourself. Literally say to yourself, that feels like a movie I watched once. It didn't happen to me. Disassociate from the event. Push it into the category of fiction. That happened to a character named Your Name. I am not that character anymore. The danger of reminding. People will try to remind you. Remember how sad you were? Remember that guy who stole your money? They are trying to drag you back into the timeline. Look at them with a blank stare. No, I don't really think about that anymore. They will be shocked. How can you not think about it? It was huge. Shrug. I have other things to think about. This is the ultimate power move. Indifference. You treat the major tragedy of your life like it was a minor inconvenience that you forgot about, like losing a pen. This signals to the world and to yourself that you are bigger than the event. The event was small. You are large. The windshield versus the rearview mirror. Look at a car. The windshield is huge. The rearview mirror is tiny. This is the correct ratio for your attention. You should spend 95% of your time looking forward, windshield, and 5% looking back, mirror. Most of you are driving 100 mph while staring exclusively at the rearview mirror. You are going to crash. Actually, you did crash, and now you are staring at the wreckage in the mirror instead of the road ahead. Rip the rearview mirror off. Yes, it's dangerous to drive without mirrors, but right now, it's more dangerous for you to keep looking back. You are in a race. There is nobody behind you that matters. Eyes front, the blank slate. Imagine you are a spy who has been burned. You have to assume a new identity. You get a new passport, a new name, a new history. You have to forget the old spy. If you act like the old spy, you get caught and killed. You are that spy. You have been burned by life. Your cover is blown. You need a new dossier. Who is this new person? What do they eat? How do they walk? What books do they read? Design the character, and then become the character. This is not fake. This is adaptation. You are adapting to survive. The old you couldn't survive in this new world, so the old you must be erased. The release of grudges. A grudge is a heavy stone. You think holding the grudge punishes the other person. I will never forgive him. You are drinking poison and expecting him to die. He is out dancing. He is happy. He forgot about you. And you are sitting in your basement, holding a stone, sweating, angry. Who is being punished? Drop the stone. Not for him. For you. Your hands are too busy holding the stone to build anything. You need 2 free hands to build a castle. Drop the grudge. Let gravity take it. Walk away lighter. The speed of processing. High-performance people have short memories for failure. A salesperson gets a door slammed in their face. Do they go home and cry? No, they forget it instantly and knock on the next door. A basketball player misses a shot. Do they obsess over it? No. They forget it instantly and shoot again. You must develop short-term failure memory. Process the error. Learn the lesson. Flush the emotion. All within 30 seconds. Flush. Next. Flush. Next. If you carry the failure of the morning into the afternoon, you ruin the afternoon. If you carry the failure of Monday into Tuesday, you ruin the week. Cut the cord. Reset the clock. Conclusion. You have a superpower available to you. It is the power to ignore what happened. It is the power to refuse to be defined by your history. Use it. Wake up tomorrow morning with a blank mind. Look at the sun like it's the first time you've seen it. Look at your problems like they are new puzzles to solve, not old burdens to carry. You are not your past. You are not your trauma. You are not your resume. You are the infinite potential of the present moment. But you can only access that potential if you put down the backpack. Let it go. Let it fall off your shoulders. Hear it hit the ground. Thud. Walk away. Don't look back. You are light now. You are fast. And you are going to need that speed. Because in the next chapter, we are going to deal with the one thing that keeps trying to pull you back into the past. We are going to deal with the desire for closure. You think you need an apology. You think you need an explanation. You don't. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about why closure is a myth, and why the only closure you need is the sound of a door slamming shut. Are you ready to stop waiting? Chapter 13. Closure is a myth. You are waiting for a phone call that is never going to come. You are waiting for a text message. You are waiting for a knock on the door. You are waiting for a meeting in a coffee shop where the person who destroyed you looks you in the eye and says, I am so sorry. I was wrong. You were right. I regret everything. Here is exactly why I did it, and here is how I am going to make it up to you. You are waiting for closure. You think that once you get this closure, then you can move on. You think that once you understand why, the pain will stop. You think that once they apologize, the wound will stitch itself up. You are delusional. Closure is a fairy tale invented by Hollywood movies to make audiences feel good before the credits roll. In movies, the villain admits his crimes. The hero gets validation. The loose ends are tied up in a neat little bow. Real life is not a movie. Real life is messy, chaotic, and unfinished. Real life is full of loose ends that will dangle forever. If you are waiting for closure, you are handing the remote control of your life to the person who broke you. You are pressing pause on your own healing and saying, "I will not press play until you give me permission." You are letting your enemy hold you hostage. We are going to talk about why closure is a myth and why you need to stop looking for it. The why trap. The biggest component of the closure myth is the obsession with why. Why did she leave? Why did he fire me? Why did they lie? You become a detective. You analyze every conversation. You reread old texts. You stalk their social media looking for clues. You think that if you can just find the missing piece of the puzzle, the picture will make sense, and you will feel better. Here is the hard truth. The why does not matter. Let's say you find out the why. Let's say the reason they left is because they fell out of love. Does that fix your broken heart? No. Let's say the reason they fired you is because they wanted to save $50,000. Does that put money in your bank account? No. Let's say the reason they lied is because they are a sociopath. Does that undo the betrayal? No. Knowing the why changes absolutely nothing about the reality of the situation. You are still broken. You are still alone. You are still broke. Information is not a cure. You think the information will be a salve, but it is usually just salt. Often the answer to why is banal and insulting. Why did he betray you? Because he didn't care about you. That's it. That's the answer. Do you really need to hear that out loud? Accept the universal why. It happened because it happened. The physics of the universe allowed it. The collision occurred. Stop trying to reverse engineer the crash. Just walk away from the wreck. The villain's perspective. You are waiting for an apology because you view the other person as the villain and yourself as the victim. You expect the villain to realize they are evil and repent. But here is the problem. In their story, they are not the villain. In their story, they are the hero. In their story, they left you because they needed to find themselves. In their story, they fired you because it was a necessary business decision. In their story, they lied to protect your feelings. They have rationalized their behavior. They have spun a narrative where they are the good guy, or at least the justified guy. They are not sitting at home racked with guilt. They are sitting at home thinking they made the right choice. So, when you demand an apology, they look at you with confusion. Why should I apologize? I did what I had to do. You are waiting for a confession from a person who thinks they are innocent. It is never coming. And even if they do apologize, it will be a fake apology. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry things happened like this. That is not an apology. That is a dismissal. Do not beg for a fake apology. It is beneath you. The courtroom in your head. You have built a courtroom in your mind. You are the prosecutor. You have gathered all the evidence. You have the texts, the dates, the lies. You have prepared a closing argument that proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you were wronged. You are waiting for the judge to bang the gavel and say, "Guilty. You win. You were right all along." But there is no judge. The courtroom is empty. The defendant isn't showing up. They are at the beach. You are standing in an empty room, shouting at the walls, presenting your case to nobody. You are exhausting yourself. You are reliving the trauma every time you rehearse the argument. Dissolve the court. Drop the charges. Not because they are innocent, but because the trial is costing you too much money. You are paying legal fees with your soul. Declare a mistrial and walk out of the courthouse. The unsent letter. Many therapists tell you to write a letter to the person who hurt you. Write it all down, they say. Get it out. And then, do not send it. This is actually good advice, but not for the reason you think. You shouldn't send it because they do not deserve your words. Your words are valuable. Your feelings are valuable. Why would you give a beautifully written, heartfelt letter to a person who threw you in the trash? It is like throwing pearls before swine. The pig doesn't know it's a pearl. The pig will just trample it into the mud. If you send that letter, you are looking for a reaction. You are hoping they read it and cry. What if they read it and laugh? What if they read it and don't reply? You will be devastated. Write the letter if you must. Then burn it. Watch the smoke rise. That smoke is your closure. It is the physical manifestation of your feelings leaving this dimension. It is gone. Closure is an inside job. True closure is not something you receive. It is something you create. Closure is the moment you decide that you don't care anymore. Closure is the moment you decide that the story is over. You have the power to write the end at the bottom of the page whenever you want. You don't need their permission to end the chapter. You don't need them to sign off on it. You create closure by closing the door, literally and metaphorically. Block the number. Block the email. Avoid the places they go. Make yourself inaccessible. The subscriber you have dialed is no longer in service. When you remove their access to you, you are closing the loop. You are saying, "I am no longer a character in your play. I have exited the stage." The cold case strategy. Sometimes you just have to treat your trauma like a cold case file. Detectives have thousands of unsolved murders. They work on them for a while, but eventually the trail goes cold. Do they spend the rest of their lives obsessing over that one case? No. They put it in a box. They write "unsolved" on the label. They put the box on a shelf in the basement, and they go work on a new case. Your trauma is a cold case. You might never know the full truth. You might never get justice. The bad guy might get away with it. That sucks. It is unfair. But it is reality. Put the file in the box. Label it "Unsolved Mystery." Put it on the shelf. Turn off the lights in the basement. Go upstairs and live your life. Maybe one day, 10 years from now, new evidence will pop up. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. You have other cases to solve. You have a life to live. Do not become the obsessive detective who loses his mind over one file. The power of ambiguity. You hate ambiguity. The human brain hates uncertainty. We want clear answers. Did they love me or not? Was it my fault or theirs? The answer is usually a mix of both, or it's complicated. You have to learn to tolerate ambiguity. You have to be okay with not knowing. You have to be okay with the messy, gray areas of human existence. The strongest minds are the ones that can hold two contradictory thoughts at the same time. They loved me, and they betrayed me. I was good to them, and they left. Both can be true. Accept the paradox. Stop trying to simplify it into a black and white cartoon, the revenge of silence. We talked about revenge. The ultimate closure for you, and the ultimate torture for them, is silence. If you demand closure, if you scream for an explanation, you are feeding their ego. You are showing them that they are important. But if you just vanish, if you never ask why, if you never ask for an apology, that drives them crazy. They will wonder, why didn't he fight for me? Why doesn't she care? You flip the script. Now they are the ones lacking closure. Now they are the ones wondering what happened. You transfer the burden of the unfinished business to them. Let them carry the backpack. You drop it. The scab analogy. Trying to get closure is like picking a scab. It itches. You want to see what's underneath. You want to smooth it out. So you pick at it. And what happens? It bleeds. It scars. It takes longer to heal. Leave the scab alone. It looks ugly. It feels rough. But it is doing its job. It is covering the wound while the skin knits together underneath. If you stop touching it, eventually it will fall off on its own. Stop touching the situation. Stop poking it. Let time do the heavy lifting. Time is the only closure agent that actually works. But it works slowly. You have to let it sit. The sunk cost of closure. You have already invested years in this person or this job. You think, I can't walk away without an explanation. I've put too much in. That is the sunk cost fallacy. You are throwing good time after bad time. You spent 5 years on a bad investment. Do you want to spend 5 years and 1 day? No. Cut your losses. The explanation is not worth the extra day. The apology is not worth the extra phone call. Whatever value you think you will get from the closure meeting, it is less than the value of your peace of mind. Walk away from the table while you still have your shirt. The ritual of closing. If you really need a moment to mark the end, create one yourself. Don't involve them. Do a ritual. Go to the ocean. Pick up a rock. Name the rock the relationship or the failure. Throw it into the water as hard as you can. Watch it disappear. Say, it is done. Or write the name on a piece of paper. Dig a hole. Bury it. Plant a tree over it. Say, from this death, new life grows. Make it physical. Make it ceremonial. Your brain responds to rituals. It marks a transition point. Before the rock was thrown versus after the rock was thrown. You have created your own timeline. You don't need them to be there. In fact, it's better if they aren't. This is your ceremony, not theirs. Conclusion. Stop waiting by the phone. The call is not coming. And if it does come, it will be disappointing. You are looking for a key to unlock your handcuffs. Look down. You are not handcuffed. You never were. You were just holding onto the bars of the cell, thinking you were locked in. Let go of the bars. The door is open. Walk out. Step into the sunlight. The air is fresh. The world is big. There are a billion other people out there who haven't hurt you yet. Go meet them. You have survived the crash. You have welded the cracks. You have ignored the ghosts. You have stopped waiting for the apology. You are almost invincible. But there is one thing left. You have a scar. A big, ugly scar where the wound used to be. And you are worried that people will see it. You are worried that the scar makes you ugly. I am here to tell you that the scar is not a defect. The scar is a decoration. The scar is a rank. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about why you should wear your history like a medal of honor. We are going to talk about the scar is the medal. Are you ready to show your stripes? Chapter 14. The scar is the medal. You are still trying to hide it. I see you. You are wearing long sleeves to cover the marks on your arms. You are wearing a fake smile to cover the marks on your soul. You are avoiding conversations about your past because you are afraid that if people knew the truth, if they knew you were divorced, bankrupt, fired, or addicted, they would look at you with disgust. You think your history is a stain. You think it is a blemish on your record. You are treating your life like a used car that you are trying to sell. You are trying to paint over the scratches and roll back the odometer so the buyer thinks you are brand new. Stop it. You are not a used car. You are a tank. And a tank that comes back from the battlefield with dents in the armor, scratches on the paint, and mud on the tracks is not damaged. It is combat proven. If I am a general looking for a tank to lead the charge, do I pick the shiny one that has never left the factory? The one that has never taken a hit? No. That tank is a liability. I don't know if it works. I don't know if the cannon fires. I don't know if the armor holds. I pick the ugly one. I pick the one that has been hit by an RPG and kept moving. I pick the one that has scars. Your scars are not defects. They are credentials. We are going to talk about why you should polish your scars, frame them, and wear them like a medal of honor. The civilian versus the warrior. There are two types of people in this world, civilians and warriors. Civilians value safety. They value comfort. They value looking good. To a civilian, a scar is ugly. It represents pain. It represents a failure of safety. They look at a scar and think, "Oh, how terrible, that poor thing." Warriors value survival. They value strength. They value competence. To a warrior, a scar is beautiful. It represents a battle won. It represents a moment where death tried to take you, and you said no. They look at a scar and think, "Respect. That guy is hard to kill." You have spent your whole life trying to impress civilians. You have been trying to fit in with the safe, soft, unscarred sheep. Stop trying to impress sheep. They will never understand you. Start trying to impress the lions. Lions look for scars. When a lion sees your scar, he sees a map. He reads the history written on your skin or your psyche. Ah, he survived the divorce wars of 2020. Ah, he survived the bankruptcy crash of 2018. He is one of us. Your scar is a passkey. It gets you into the VIP room of the survivors. If you hide it, you are leaving your credentials at the door. The warning label. A scar is also a warning to your enemies. Think about a fighter. If you step into the ring with a guy who has a broken nose and cauliflower ears, what is your first thought? This guy fights. You are immediately cautious. You respect him. You know he can take a punch. If you step into the ring with a guy who has a perfect face and a fresh haircut, you think, "Pretty boy, I can take him." Your trauma is your cauliflower ear. When you own your history, when you say, "Yes, I lost everything and rebuilt it," you are signaling to the world that you are dangerous. You are saying, "I have been to hell and walked back. Do you really think you can scare me with a threat? Do you really think you can hurt me with an insult?" You become unbullyable. A bully looks for weakness. A bully looks for fear. When you show your scar, you are showing that you have already faced your worst fear. You're going to fire me? Go ahead. I've been homeless. I'm not afraid of being broke. You're going to leave me? Go ahead. I've been alone. I'm not afraid of silence. The scar makes you terrifyingly calm, and in a world of anxious people, the calmest man is the king. The medal ceremony. In the military, they give medals for two things: valor and wounds. The Purple Heart is given to those who bled. It is not a badge of shame. It is a badge of honor. Soldiers wear it on their chest. They salute it. Why do you treat your Purple Heart like a shameful secret? Why do you hide it in the drawer? You need to hold your own medal ceremony. Stand in front of the mirror. Look at the damage. Look at the dark circles. Look at the wrinkles. Look at the empty bank account. And pin the medal on yourself. I earned this. I paid for this with my pain. This proves I was in the arena. Theodore Roosevelt said it best. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood. The critics, the people laughing at you, they are in the cheap seats. They are clean. They are safe. And they are irrelevant. You are marred. You are dirty. You are bloody. And you are the hero, the storyteller's asset. We talked about kintsugi and storytelling, but let's go deeper. Your scar is the hook of your story. Nobody wants to hear a story about a guy who had a perfect life, married a perfect wife, made perfect money, and died in his sleep. That is a boring story. That is a bedtime story for children. We want to hear the story of the guy who fell off the cliff, broke every bone in his body, crawled through the desert for 3 days, fought a wolf, and survived. That is a legend. You are writing a legend, but a legend requires a monster. A legend requires a fall. You have had your fall. You have met your monster. Now you are in the rising action. Do not edit out the best scenes. If you edit out the trauma, the victory makes no sense. If Rocky doesn't get beaten up in the first 14 rounds, the knockout in the 15th round isn't exciting. Keep the beatdown in the script. When you tell your story to a date, to a client, to your children, tell the truth. I was down. I was out. I was hopeless. And then hit them with the turn. But I didn't stay there. That contrast creates charisma. People fall in love with your scars because they see their own pain reflected in them. But they see a solution in you. You become a symbol of hope. If he could survive that, maybe I can survive this. Vulnerability versus victimhood. There is a fine line you must walk. Showing your scar is vulnerability. Showing your open wound is victimhood. We talked about not bleeding on people. A scar is not a wound. A scar is healed. When you show a scar, you are saying, "Look at what I survived." Strength. When you show a wound, you are saying, "Look at how much I hurt. Please fix me." Weakness. Ensure the wound is closed before you show it. Ensure you have processed the emotion. Chapter 8. When you can talk about the event without crying, it is a scar. When you can talk about the event without hating the villain, it is a scar. Wear the scar. Bandage the wound. Know the difference. The aesthetic of grit. Let's talk about beauty standards. Modern society loves smooth skin, smooth jazz, smooth sailing. But nature loves texture. Look at a mountain. Is it smooth? No. It is jagged. It has cliffs. It has avalanches. It is violent. That is why it is majestic. Look at an old oak tree. Is the bark smooth? No. It is gnarly. It is cracked. It has knots where branches were ripped off in storms. That is why it is strong. You are becoming a force of nature. You should have texture. You should have a weathered soul. There is a specific look in the eyes of a person who has suffered and won. It is the 1,000-yard stare, but focused. It is a look of deep, ancient knowing. It is sexy. Yes, trauma, when integrated, is sexy. It signals depth. It signals that you are not a shallow puddle. You are an ocean. People get bored with puddles. They can see the bottom. They never get bored with the ocean. It is dark. It is dangerous. It is mysterious. Your scars provide the depth, the authentication of advice. When you give advice, your scars are your credentials. If a rich kid tells me how to make money, I ignore him. If a man who went bankrupt and rebuilt it tells me how to make money, I listen. If a person who has never been married gives me relationship advice, I laugh. If a person who survived a toxic divorce and found peace gives me advice, I take notes. Your scars authenticate your wisdom. They prove you did the field work. You are not a professor. You are a practitioner. In a world of AI, chatbots, and fake gurus, the only thing that cannot be faked is a scar. It is the watermark of authenticity. It increases your value in the marketplace. The shield against judgment. You are afraid people will judge you. They will think I'm a failure. Let them. The judgment of a coward means nothing to a brave man. If someone judges you for having scars, they are revealing their own fear. They are revealing that they live in a bubble and are terrified of it popping. Your scar acts as a filter. It repels the weak and attracts the strong. If someone is disgusted by your past, good. You don't want them in your future. They couldn't handle the ride. Anyway, if someone is intrigued by your past, good. They are a fellow savage. Use your history to filter your circle. Put it out there early. Yeah, I crashed a business. Watch their face. If they flinch, delete. If they lean in, keep. The tattoo of the soul. Some people pay thousands of dollars for tattoos to look tough or interesting. They inject ink into their skin to tell a story. You got your tattoos for free. Well, not free, you paid in pain. And yours are real. Your scars are the tattoos of the universe. God, or the universe, inked you. This one is for resilience. This one is for patience. This one is for letting go. Wear them with the same swagger as a biker wears his ink. Roll up your sleeves. Yeah, I got this one in the trenches of 2024. It was a hell of a year. The final polish. So here is your assignment. Stop apologizing for your past. Stop acting like a criminal who is trying to hide the evidence. When someone asks you, what happened? Do not look down at your shoes. Look them in the eye. Square your shoulders. Smile a little bit. And say, I fought a war, and I won. That's it. You don't need to give the gory details if you don't want to. But you must deliver the headline with pride. You are a veteran of the psychic wars. You have the metals to prove it. The metal is fused to your skin. Conclusion. You have done it all. You buried the old self. You rejected sympathy. You audited the wreckage. You welded the cracks. You quarantined the weakness. You weaponized the trauma. You took revenge by succeeding. You endured the ugly healing. You killed the ghost. You found the gold. You stress-tested the system. You induced amnesia. You rejected closure. And now, you are wearing your medals. You are fully reconstructed. You are standing tall. You are strong. But there is one final state. A state beyond strong. Strong things can still be broken if you hit them hard enough. We want to reach a state where you cannot be broken ever again. We want to reach the state of zero mass. The state where the bullet passes right through you. The state where you have nothing left to lose. So you have everything to gain. In the final chapter, we are going to talk about the unbreakable state. We are going to talk about becoming a ghost in the machine. We are going to talk about the ultimate freedom of having no fear. This is the end of the road. Are you ready to disappear into the light? Chapter 15. The unbreakable state. You have reached the end of the map. We started this journey in a graveyard. We stood over the coffin of your old self. You were bleeding. You were crying. You were begging the world to stop hurting you. You were fragile. Like a glass vase sitting on the edge of a table. You were terrified of the slightest tremor. One push, one gust of wind, and you would shatter. Look at yourself now. You are not glass anymore. You are not even steel. Steel can be melted. Steel can be rusted. Steel can be broken if you apply enough force. We have aimed for something higher than hardness. We have aimed for the unbreakable state. What is unbreakable? A diamond? No. You can smash a diamond with a hammer. A mountain? No. You can erode a mountain with wind and rain. The only thing in the universe that is truly unbreakable is nothing. You cannot break a void. You cannot break a shadow. You cannot break the wind. You cannot break water. To be unbreakable, you must stop being a rigid object that resists the world. You must become a force that flows through the world. You must become zero, the power of zero. In Chapter 3, we looked at your inventory of wreckage. You felt panic because you had lost everything. Now I want you to look at that same emptiness and feel power. The man who has everything is afraid. He is afraid of the thief. He is afraid of the fire. He is afraid of the market crash. He is a slave to his possessions and his status. The man who has lost everything, he is free. You have walked through the fire. You have lost the marriage. You have lost the money. You have lost the reputation. And guess what? You are still breathing. The worst-case scenario happened, and you didn't die. This realization is the key to the unbreakable state. You have nothing left to lose, and a person with nothing to lose is the most dangerous person on the planet. You can walk into a negotiation and walk away, because you don't need the deal. You can speak the truth to power, because you don't fear getting fired. You can love without attachment, because you don't fear being alone. You have been inoculated against fear. Fear requires an object. You fear losing X. But if you have already lost X, or if you have accepted that X is temporary, fear evaporates. You are now operating at 0-point energy. You are light. You are fast. You are unburdened. You are a ghost in the machine. Be water, my friend. Bruce Lee said it best. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put water in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. The old you was a rock. When life struck you, you cracked. The new you is water. When life strikes water, what happens? The sword passes right through it. The water separates for a millisecond and then closes back up. You cannot wound water. If the economy crashes, you flow, you adapt, you change shape to fit the new container. If a relationship ends, you flow. You keep moving downstream. You do not stagnate. The unbreakable state is total adaptability. It is the refusal to be rigid. Rigidity is death. Rigidity is ego. I must be a CEO. I must be a husband. Fluidity is life. I am whatever the moment requires me to be. The death of the victim. The victim is finally dead. We killed him in Chapter 1, but sometimes he tries to crawl out of the grave. In the unbreakable state, the victim cannot exist because you have accepted radical sovereignty. You realize that everything that happens to you is raw material. If someone throws a brick at your head, you don't cry. You catch the brick and build a wall. If someone digs a hole in front of you, you don't fall in. You use it as a foxhole to fight from. You are an alchemist. An alchemist cannot be victimized by lead because he knows how to turn it into gold. You cannot be victimized by tragedy because you know how to turn it into strength. You are immune to bad luck. There is no such thing as bad luck for you anymore. There is only unexpected training. Oh, the car broke down. Good. Training for patience. Oh, the client canceled. Good. Training for resilience. You metabolize every event into power. The Hydra effect. You are not just resilient. You are anti-fragile. Resilient things withstand the shock. Anti-fragile things grow from the shock. You are the Hydra. In Greek mythology, if you cut off one head of the Hydra, two grow back. This is your new nature. If the world takes $1,000 from you, you don't just get it back. You make $10,000. If the world breaks your heart, you don't just heal. You build a heart that is 10 times bigger and more compassionate. You want the world to attack you. Cut off my head, you say. I dare you. See what grows back. You taunt the difficulty. Is that all you got? Hit me harder. I need the growth. This confuses your enemies. They try to bury you, but they don't know you are a seed. The more dirt they pile on you, the stronger you grow. The quiet confidence. The unbreakable state is quiet. In the beginning of this journey, you needed to be loud. You needed to scream, to punch things, to use rage as fuel. Chapter 6. But now, you don't need the rage. You have moved past the dirty fuel. You are running on a fusion reactor. You don't need to prove you are tough. A lion doesn't walk around the jungle screaming, "I am the king." The lion walks quietly. He knows. The other animals know. If a chihuahua barks at a lion, the lion doesn't bark back. He doesn't even look. You have reached indifference. You don't care if people like you. You don't care if people understand you. You don't care if people think you are crazy. You are anchored in your own reality. You walk into a room, and you are the most grounded person there. While everyone else is frantic, worried about the news, worried about their likes, you are still. You are the eye of the hurricane. The storm spins around you, destroying everything, but in the center, there is silence. You carry that silence with you. The integration of the shadow. You are no longer trying to be good. You are capable of being dangerous, but choosing to be good. There is a difference. A rabbit is good because it has no claws. It has no choice. It is harmless. A warrior is good because he has a sword, but he keeps it sheathed. He is disciplined. You have integrated your shadow. You know you have the capacity for violence, for selfishness, for destruction. You saw it during the ugly healing phase. But you have tamed the monster. You have put a leash on the beast. You are a dangerous person who has chosen peace. That is true virtue. And because you are dangerous, you are safe to be around. You can protect others. You can protect your family. You are not a helpless victim anymore. You are a guardian. The final vision. I want you to visualize your timeline. Look back at the crash site. Look at the smoke rising from the wreckage of your old life. It looks so small now. It looks like a toy car that broke. You thought it was the end of the world. It was just a speed bump. Now look forward. The road is open. The horizon is infinite. You have no baggage. Chapter 12. You have no need for closure. Chapter 13. You have your medals. Chapter 14. You are ready to build the masterpiece. Not a reconstruction of the old life. A new creation. Something that has never been seen before. Maybe you build a business that changes the world. Maybe you build a family that breaks the cycle of generational trauma. Maybe you build a body of art that inspires millions. Or maybe You just build a quiet, peaceful life, where you wake up every day and watch the sunrise. Totally content, totally free. The choice is yours. You are the creator. The clay is in your hands. The warning of entropy. I have one final warning. The unbreakable state is not a permanent achievement like a trophy on a shelf. It is a dynamic state. It requires maintenance. Entropy is the force of the universe that pulls everything toward chaos and decay. If you stop rowing, the current pulls you back. If you stop training, the muscles atrophy. If you stop guarding your mind, the viruses return. You can never retire from being a savage. You can never say, "I'm done." You are never done. The war against weakness is an eternal war. You must wake up every single day and re-sign the contract. Today, I refuse to break. There will be new storms. There will be new tragedies. Death will come for the people you love. Sickness will come for your body. Life is not done with you yet. But next time, you will be ready. Next time, you won't shatter. You will absorb the blow. You will bow, but you will not break. The release. It is time for me to go. I have given you the tools. I have given you the strategy. I have yelled at you, shamed you, and encouraged you. I have walked you out of the hospital and to the edge of the battlefield. I cannot fight the war for you. I cannot live your life for you. You have to let go of my hand now. You don't need this audiobook anymore. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another guru. You have the code. It is written on the inside of your skull. 1. I refuse to be a victim. 2. I refuse to stay broken. 3. I am the architect of my reality. Say it. Say it out loud right now. I refused to stay broken. Feel the truth of it. It is a fact. It is a historical record. You refused. Past tense. The decision has already been made. The door. Visualize a door in front of you. It is a heavy iron door. Behind you is the hospital. Behind you is the sympathy. Behind you is the past. Through that door is the arena. Through that door is the rest of your life. It is bright out there. It is loud. It is dangerous. It is glorious. Put your hand on the handle. Feel the cold metal. Your hand is scarred. It is strong. Push. The door opens. The light hits your face. Step through. Don't look back. There is nothing back there for you. Everything you need is right here, inside your chest. You are whole. You are healed. You are dangerous. You are unbreakable. Go.